Orleans. Crescent City Sports is pleased to bring you high school track and field. And for the third consecutive year, we are pleased to be on hand for the District 9 5A Championships. Hi again, everybody. Lenny Van Gilder, pleased to be joined by Mark Falavino, the head coach at McGee. And this is a fun event. I mean, you get around to this time of year. First of all, we're getting into the districts, followed by the regionals, followed by the state meets in a couple of weeks down the road. So we're down to the postseason of this sport. But of all of the district meets that go on, certainly when you start talking District 9 5A in the Catholic League, the district championships mean more here. While there is a lot more at stake if you want to contend for a state championship and trying to get those qualifiers through, first things first, individual and team district championships on the line tonight.
Absolutely. It just seems like it means more here in the Catholic League. It's competitive from top to bottom, and these kids have worked super hard all season long, going back to the indoor season, dating as early as December. And, they're ready. I can tell you right now, those kids are ready. The coaches have got them ready, and it's all about moving on to the next round.
Yeah, and again, so obviously district championships at stake, but let's explain what happens in terms of advancement and how that whole procedure works and the things that are at stake for the next couple of weeks down the line.
Sure. So what happens is that the top 4 finishers in each event qualify to the regional meet. From that point, the top 3 finishers from the region, and the region consists of typically 3 to 4 different districts in your general area. The top 3 from those regions move on to the state meet in Baton Rouge.
So a lot at stake from a number of perspectives here this evening. We're going to take you through all of the running events. The field events actually got underway a couple of hours ago and will be continuing to go on as we speak. It's the beauty of track and field. So many things going on at one time. Here's a look at the full schedule tonight and the layout of how this plays out. We start with a relatively new event, the 4x800 relay. Then we get into some of the sprints, another couple of relays mixed in around the 1,600 meters. And, of course, we end with the 4x4, which is always one of the most fun events, especially if you've still got district championships hopes at stake at that point. It can really get exciting at that point. What do you look for as you look at the menu of events this evening? Well,
this is the second year of the new lineup. We changed it in our state here last year. So it's taken some getting used to. It takes some things out of play, like doubling in the distance events and sprint events, et cetera, et cetera. But, by and large, I think we've all gotten accustomed to it now. And we're in it to win it.
So we will start with the girls 4x8. You see at the bottom of your screen there, the first runners are starting to line up, and we will have, again, 4 runners, each running an 800-meter leg in this race, and you're talking about obviously the teams with the better distance runners, and you immediately start on the girls' side. Mount Carmel Dominican have been very strong in the distance events for years in this district. And then as you get on the boys' side, you start talking about Jesuit and Brother Martin, who come in with the 2 best times by far in the district. So we get set to go here. The girls are getting set to run their opening leg, and they will lead off the 4x800-meter relay. It will be your lane assignments. Lane 4 will be Archbishop Chappelle. Lane 5 will be Mount Carmel. Lane 6 will be Dominican. And lane 7 will be Edna Carr for this opening event, which is just a couple of seconds away. You're seeing the real-time clock right now in the top right-hand corner of your screen. That will, of course, display the event time as we go along this evening. So, again, Chappelle in 4, Mount Carmel in 5, Dominican in 6, Carr in 7 for this girls' 4x800-meter relay, which will kick off our running events. And we'll keep you apprised of what's going on in the field events, what's going on in the team scoring as we go throughout the evening. This is, as you know, as a track coach, this is a lot to keep up with in a short period of time. You've got a lot of things going on in a lot of different places. Of course, there is only one track, but in terms of the field events, things are going on all over the place. Gun is up, and we are off and running with our first event of the evening, the girls 4x800 meter relay. Again, the two to watch. It's Mount Carmel in 5, Dominican in 6. They come in with seed times almost a minute ahead of the other two teams.
Yeah, it's definitely a two-horse race here, Lenny. You're looking at two schools with historically, top 5 cross-country programs, and that certainly translates to the spring in races like the 4x8, the 16, the 32, et cetera.
And those two teams out neck and neck here early on. To no surprise, each runner will make 2 laps around the track. Then they'll hand off the baton to the next competitor on their team. We don't get cards with the actual teams that come in. We get a pool of the runners who are competing, but you could see as they come down the stretch for the first time, it's Mount Carmel and Dominican stride for stride right next to one another, followed by Chappelle and Carr. What are you looking to establish when you run that leadoff leg, Mark?
You want to set the tone of the race. Essentially, you want your. I would always like to have my best 800-meter runner out there, so that way the rest of the race knows, hey, this is what we're establishing. This is going to be our race, and that's what you really want to do. Again, set the tone. And it looks like Mount Carmel is trying to establish that right now.
Yeah, a couple of meter lead at this point as we come up on 550 meters on this opening leg. And the interesting thing about it is you'll see their teammates around us supporting them. Obviously, there's a lot of fans on the home stretch side where we sit, but throughout the facilities, there's tents on the far side where the teams are headquartered. There's obviously other competitors getting ready maybe to compete in different events. Maybe some athletes are on the football playing surface warming up at this point. So you see Mount Carmel trying to stretch it out a little bit. This is, about a 10-meter lead as we head towards the first baton exchange here. And it's a good one. And let's say you're behind there in the second leg. What are you trying to tell your runners here? You can't make the whole thing up.
Be patient.
Be patient.
Be patient.
But here's what's happening. Look at what's happening is Dominican is about to move into the lead on the backstretch, just 100 meters into this second leg.
Well, and that's the one thing that we're not sure of, right? Is what the
lineup is, yeah.
What the lineup is, what their number 2 is capable of. But that's the one thing I would always tell someone who's behind. Just run your race, be patient. Let the girl come back or let the guy come back to you and be smart about it, because you can't win the race, but you can certainly lose it by going out too hard.
Mm-hmm. And still a short lead for Dominican as we will pass the finish line for the third time here. 1,200 meters through this 4x8, 3,200 meters in total. And granted, everybody probably has a different style of running, too. You don't know. Every 800-meter runner doesn't run the same. Some will go out fast and try to hang on. Other 800-meter runners will run a slower first 400 and look to close down the stretch. And look what's happening here. Now Mount Carmel retakes the lead as we hit the 1,300-meter mark.
Yep, that young lady from Dominican maybe got out just a little bit too hard, a little bit aggressive there on the front side, but everybody's got to run their race, like I said.
Right about back where we were here when we made the exchange. Mount Carmel has that lead back out to about 10 meters and looking to expand in this final 200 of the second leg.
That was smart on the Mount Carmel runners' part there. Saw the move by Dominican, didn't get overly excited, and stayed patient and ran what her coaches told her to run.
And now the lead is out close to 20 meters as we get ready for the second handoff. You see the timer there approaching 5 minutes, and that's not far off of their district record pace here, 10:02 set 2 years ago. A year ago in this race, Mount Carmel won it. In 10:30.54. Dominican ran 10:50.60 last year. You can see the lead has stretched out. There's a good bit of separation as they hit this turn. Perhaps 30 meters now as we head towards the 2,000-meter mark in this race. One more lap by the third leg before they hand it off to the anchors. Lead now about 20 meters at the (2,000-meter) mark. You watch the clock as well. That's a lot, especially these distance runners. A lot of times, yeah, they run races, but a lot of times they're running against the clock. That's the thing that they do.
No, 100%. And, right now, coach is telling her that, she's got a nice lead. Stay comfortable, stay relaxed, bring it into the anchor leg, and do what you have to do to get the win at this point in time.
So this lead is really stretched out now. I would imagine this is around 50 meters as we head down the stretch for the handoff to the anchors. And when they do, there will be 800 meters remaining in this race, continuing to stretch it out here. That's maybe 75 meters as they make this handoff for the final leg. Just now making the second handoff as Dominican, as Mount Carmel reaches the backside straightaway. So that lead is almost 100 meters at this point. Meanwhile, there's a chance that the Mount Carmel runners could lap one or both of the third and fourth place teams before this is said and done. But again, they have been a outstanding distance running program, both on the track and in the cross-country season for many years.
Yeah, you can pretty much bet a good amount of money if that's what you do on Mount Carmel Dominican being in the top 5 in cross-country every fall.
Right. So Chappelle has made its handoff to the final leg. The Dominican runner will get the bell lap here. And the car anchor runner is now a full 400 meters behind in this race. Here comes the Dominican anchor across the line for the first time. But barring the unforeseen, this will be a convincing Mount Carmel victory to start the evening here in the 4x8. I don't think at this point any kind of records are in play there. You see the timer has touched over 9.5 minutes. We take quite the sprint finish here. And again, you're looking to win championships here. You're not about, this isn't about going out and running record times.
PRs are nice. School records are nice. Meet records are nice. But it's really all about trying to get the win for your team, getting the points, and then moving on to the regional round.
Well, and you know all of these runners are running in something else later on this evening as well.
Absolutely. So. Conserve the energy if you can.
And so Mount Carmel is across in 10:13:07. That will be much better than their time from a year ago, but not quite their meet record of a couple of years ago.
And a second faster than their seed time, Lenny.
Right. So Dominican will come across the line second. Meanwhile, it will be Chappelle and Carr behind. 10:41 for Dominican. That's 10 seconds behind their seed time. And while they finish up, the meet officials will start assembling the boys runners in the 4x8. And you talked about Mount Carmel and Dominican. You start talking about distance events, and Jesuit and Brother Martin have been ultra competitive over the last few years. And Jesuit has got a string of state championships in cross country. They've got a string of district championships in track and field. But Brother Martin's been right on their heels, so it's not like it's been a layup either by any means. In terms of things on the distance side, they've been arguably the two best teams in the state in cross country in any division.
No doubt about that, Lenny. They are definitely the gold standard in cross country. Those guys run year round. They work their tails off. I know firsthand what those guys are doing in the summertime, in the fall, in the winter, in the spring, and they earn everything that they deserve because they put the work in, and it's really impressive.
All right, so your lane assignments here for the boys 4x8. It'll be St. Augustine in lane 2, John Curtis in lane 3, Archbishop Brummel in 4, Brother Martin draws lane 5 with the top seed time of 8:09:47, followed by Jesuit in lane 6. They come in at 8:24:58. Carr in lane 7, Warren Easton in 8. So it's St. Aug, Curtis, Rummel, Brother Martin, Jesuit, Carr, and Easton. And off we go in the boys 4x8. Jesuit in the white tops with the blue shorts. Brother Martin in the gold tops with the red shorts. And you can expect those two runners here as they cut off the stagger and head towards lane 1. They will be out there getting some things done, but neither is on the lead right now.
Yeah, that's nothing too much to worry about. That some folks like to go out a little bit aggressive, like we said earlier, and that's just not what Brother Martin or Jesuit is going to do. They're going to run conservatively, they're going to run smart, and they're going to run their race. And at the end of it, they'll be 1-2. I can promise you that.
Well, now here comes the Jesuit runner passing on the outside to take the lead. The Brother Martin runner will do the same. And so as they cross the line for the first time, it is order restored a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, indeed.
And now you'll see them stretch things out just a bit. Yeah, you mentioned that one runner went out very quickly and is now dropped back. That could be any kind of strategy right there, trying to get somebody to chase after you, who knows with that. But now you could see that Brother Martin and Jesuit have opened up a good 15 to 20 meters on the rest of the field at the 600-meter mark of this 3,200-meter race.
Right, and that's just going to continue to increase, Lenny.
This will turn into the two-horse race that we expect as they will get ready to make the first handoffs. It will be Jesuit in front by about 5 to 7 meters with Brother Martin in second and a nice gap. Here comes...
Looks like Warren Easton.
Yeah, that same runner who was out early is now closing. That's an interesting strategy there. So
very much so.
Yeah. So Jesuit, Brother Martin, Easton. I think that may be Holy Cross in fourth, if I'm not mistaken. Or Holy Cross isn't in a race. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That in the all white, I believe, is St. Aug.
St. Aug is running in all white today. That's fourth, and then it's John Curtis, Rummel, and Edna Carr, I believe, bringing up the pack. But out in front, you see them right there. That is 1-2. That is Blue Jays and Crusaders, and that's about what we expect when these distance events happen. Jesuit will bring now what appears to be about a 20 to 25 meter lead to the 1,200 meter mark. Continuing to stretch it out. How do you like to line up your relay teams when it comes to this? You said you like sometimes to put your best in the first spot. Rummel has moved all the way up to fourth place here.
I typically do like to put my top runner first, and then you have to have in the middle. You have to have tough kids who can run from behind or run with a lead, and then at that anchor leg, it's somebody if you need a chaser, they're not afraid to go after and go get it.
So you see the lead that Jesuit has put up on Brother Martin here. We'll see if there's any kind of closing kick here to kind of shorten this gap at the halfway point. Or it might work the other way. Looks like the Blue Jay runner is finding another gear here and stretching this out. This is going to be about 50 meters of a lead at the second exchange.
Definitely didn't see this happening. I thought this would be a little bit closer between the two.
When you start looking at Jesuit set the meet record a year ago. You just mentioned it's a very new event in high school track and field. 8:10:30 a year ago. And they are continuing to stretch things out here. We could show you each of the first two runners of the rest of the field, but everybody would look like ants at that point. The 2,000-meter mark right at 5 minutes. So they are on pace to break that record.
I did not see that coming.
Now, you got to see how this one finishes. And, again, like you talk about, if you think you records are nice, but you're trying to win championships. Right. Team, individual, relay teams, that kind of thing, and make sure your teams advance. And to a man, every one of these young men and the young ladies that we saw earlier are going to be running another event. So you want to certainly keep something in the tank there.
That's, of course, if they are running something else, schools like Jesuit Brother Martin have the depth where they may not have to do that.
No, exactly, because the one thing we didn't mention as we talked about formats for this thing is you're only allowed in the individual events 2 entries per event.
That's right.
So when you do have a deep distance program, you might be able to run 2 different ones in the 800, 2 different ones in the 1600, and 2 different ones in the 3200, and maybe even run some kids here in the relay who didn't run in any of those, as we will get the third exchange at 6:05. Let's see what kind of final leg we get. And if that one-year-old meet record can fall here in the 4x8, it's certainly looking that way at this point.
Going back to what you just said, Lenny, that is what they call a luxury, my friend, because at the small school level, you do not have that. You have to be creative with your lineups and things like that. Brother Martin, Jesuit, Mount Carmel, Dominican, they have a stable of runners that can score points and benefit the team, and you may not have to double up a kid for sure.
Well, a year ago, it was Finney and Connolly running anchor for Jesuit. He is part of the pool here. Again, the Blue Jays well in command here. Will come up to the line. 1 lap to go. It's 7:04. So it takes, a 65-second final lap here to break that meet record of a year ago. And look, no shame here for what Brother Martin is doing. They will cross the line with 400 to go in 7:18 see how they finish.
At the two, he's about 150 out now. He's got a chance.
8 minutes is out of the question at this point, I would think. But see the clock now go to 7:50. It would take you need to hand it off to a sprinter here for the final 100. But still, I think unless he totally backs it down, 8:10 is going by the wayside here. And we'll wait for the official time here to show up. But that certainly was across the line before 8:10. 8:07:04.
Wow.
For Jesuit. That is, again, a meet record. Second year in a row that the Blue Jays have won this race in meet record time. Brother Martin is second at 8:22:48.
And not on a particularly favorable night for distance runners either, Lenny.
It's a warm night, certainly, yeah. John Curtis is third at 8:36. Followed by Rummel at 8:48. It will be Endicott, followed by the last two runners across. St. Augustine and Warren Easton will finish 6th and 7th. So the next race on the track will be the girls' 100-meter hurdles. The girls are going to run it in 2 flights. As will the boys when they run the 110-meter hurdles. And generally what happens here, you'll see the slower runners in the first flight and the faster runners in the second flight. Easily the top time in this event this year, Adeline Dufresne of John Curtis, who won this event a year ago in 15:75, won by over 2 seconds, in fact.
Yeah, she's an absolutely phenomenal athlete, Lenny. She does it all. Hurdles, javelin, high jump. She's incredible.
And we don't have a heptathlon or a any kind of multi-event in high school track and field, but you have to wonder if that's something she aspires to do on a collegiate level.
I think so. Having I know her. I know her summer coach pretty well, and they enter quite a few meets in the AAU circuit over the summer, and she does really well. So I think that's what her aspirations are. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for certain, but I think that's what she's aiming for.
Well, while we wait for the hurdles to get underway, a chance to remind you that today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by the Lamarck Motor Company in Kenner. Lamarck Lincoln is the only black label dealership in the market. It's more than ownership, it's membership. Must be a reason. So we will have 2 in this first heat and 6 in this second heat, which is interesting that they're doing this, especially with the 100-meter dash behind them. But I guess the fact that if you run events where you're using just 6 lanes, it's less hurdles to pick up, keeps one of the objects of this is to keep things moving on schedule.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised about that too, Lenny, considering, Tad Gormley's a 9-lane track. But yeah, they definitely want to keep things moving along, and trying to move the hurdles after the girls race to the guys race. It's time consuming, but that gives the kids a chance to recover. Particularly, sometimes you'll even have someone run the 100 right after the hurdles. I wouldn't recommend it personally, but some coaches do.
Looking to see if there are any cross entries in there.
And again, that's something with big schools I wouldn't necessarily think would happen. Sometimes that happens with your smaller 1A, 2A schools, but not here in the 5As.
So in this opening flight, it's on delay of Archbishop Chappelle in lane 7, Kaylin LeGraze of Dominican in lane 8. And off and running in this first flight on delay with pretty good lead here. But again, this is when they're running in flights like this, it is against time. You don't get anything for winning your flight. All of these times are going to be grouped together, and that is how the scores are decided. So a final time of 20.15 for Andole. And we'll get set up for the second section. We'll have Audrey Johnson of Mount Carmel in lane 4, Riley Lawrence of Warren Easton in 5, Adeline Dufresne of John Curtis in 6. As we mentioned, she would come in as the favorite. Simone Gust of Mount Carmel in 7th, or lane 7, I should say. Harper Griffin of Dominican in lane 8, Paige Dean of Archbishop Chappelle in lane 9. So Johnson, Lawrence, Dufresne, Gust, Griffin, and Dean here in the second section of the girls' 100-meter hurdles. It's your hurdle crew. Look, we need to commend all the volunteers that make this happen. With any kind of track meet, it takes a village to put it on. And, all of these schools come together. They take on different assignments to be able to make this event happen, whether it's operating different field events or the hurdle crew or the pickup crew, whatever it is that needs to happen in the course of a meet, they all take it on. Here we go with Section 2 of the girls' 100 hurdles. Good start for Lawrence, staying right there with Dufresne, but now Dufresne is starting to pull away right in the middle of the track. Adeline Dufresne of John Curtis will repeat as district champion.
Yeah, that was a really great start by Lawrence. It seemed like it took Dufresne an extra half a second to get out of the block for some reason, and that's why it was as close as it was over the first 3 hurdles. But you can clearly see that Dufresne is one heck of a hurdler. Yeah,
Lawrence turns in a 15.63, which is a second and a half better than her seed time. Dufresne with a season best 15.24. Still not even close, though, to the district record from 2013 of 14.33. That's a strong time by Alexia Fortenberry. All right, we come up next to the boys' 110-meter hurdles. Now, this will take a moment here as the hurdle crew not only has to move hurdles into different positions, but they have to adjust the levels on them. You go from 33 inch to 39 inches for the sprint hurdles on the boys' side.
As we like to say on the hurdle crew, Lenny, back to blue and up 2.
There you go. Got to move them in different positions because it's 10 meters longer. It's the same number of hurdles that you're going to go over, but just a little bit more spread out. We'll see 2 flights here again. Our first flight will be Savoy Guidry of Holy Cross, Vince Ippolio Jr. of Rummel, Lois Desabry of Brother Martin, Jamon Williams of John Curtis, Colin Cancian of Brother Martin. And, we're talking about who should be favored, and, we look at, Jesuit has won the last 2 years. On the girls' side, Mount Carmel is on a 4-year winning streak in this district meet. And Jesuit's strength has traditionally been the field events and the distances. Well, they come into this year's event with Jair Burks, who is the best hurdler in the district. He's got the number 1 seed time in the sprint and the number 2 time in the intermediate hurdles. So if that stays on schedule, that's potentially 18 points they could pick up from Berks, and that's, in what is always, could be a tight race here in this district meet. That's a huge lift to be able to get in an area where maybe they haven't scored as much as in previous years. Yeah, no, Jair's had a good season, and, we'll see him again on some relays later in the meet. But you're right. I mean, this race, above all of them, the slightest thing can go wrong, and, there goes your race, whether it's a bad start or you clip a hurdle. So this one should be really interesting. You've got a lot of guys, right there between the 14:39 range, 14:92. So it should be this should be entertaining. We'll see them in Section 2 here. There are 11 competitors in the boys' 110-meter hurdles. They're just about set here to everything in place. And then once it's over, Lenny, the hurdle crew gets to stage them for the 300 hurdles. Right. They'll bring them back towards the grandstand, out of the way. With some, I guess, maybe even get moved over to a different position so they can be put out on the backstretch. Yes, sir. It's not like you keep a couple of hundred hurdles out here, do you? It's not. No. You don't have that many. You gotta use basically the same ones to keep moving them into different positions. Yes, you do. So we will get set for this event. Let's see if we have in the way of team scores at this point. What has shown up? So we get set for Section 1. We'll catch you up in just a moment there. They're getting ready. There's a couple of events in at this point, or at least on the girls' side. One other event has gone final. It's Mount Carmel with a slight lead, 12 points. John Curtis and Dominican with 8 each on the girls' side. We are off in the first section here of the 110 hurdles. And nearest to us, that's Jamon Williams, and in a late rush there, that was, I believe that was Savoy Guidry from Holy Cross, who may have gotten up in time to capture that first flight. But again, everything is against time here, so let's see what happens in Flight 2. And if that time by Guidry is 17:21, if that can hold up and beat at least one of the other runners here, he's got a chance to pick up a point for his team. That's somebody who came in without a seed time, so he's not run the event this year and goes out and wins his heat. So here's the lineup for Section 2. It'll be Drago Satanovic of Jesuit in lane 4, Jaden Hunter of Edna Carr in 5. We mentioned Jair Burks from Jesuit. He'll be in lane 6. Jerron Bickham of Easton in 7, Miles Torres of Easton in 8, Dario Carey Jr. of Holy Cross in lane 9, nearest us. That's one thing we really haven't talked about at this point, Mark. Warren Easton's new to the league this year. Of course, we talked about it in football and some other sports and stuff, but they have been a strong track and field program for a long time, and a chance to come in here and maybe do some things, especially in their areas of strength. Right, yeah. They're always going to have a strong sprint program, be solid in some of the jumps. But, yeah, no, Coach Eric does a good job with those guys and girls, and he's always going to bring speed to the track. Off we go in the
Good start by Jair.
10 hurdles, and you see the huge start by Burks in the middle of the track, and he has an enormous lead. Burks across the line, well ahead of the rest of the field. 13:70 his time. That is a meet record that has stood for 47 years.
Oh, my gosh. What we thought was going to be potentially a close race was not a close race at all.
He came in with a best of 14:39, went out and ran 13:70. The previous district record was 13:85, so he obliterated that record by 15/100ths of a second. That is a record that dated to 1978.
Wow.
Tim McGee held that record.
And look, that race was all predicated on his start, Lenny. He got out of the blocks super fast and powerful, and he attacked that first hurdle and set up the rest of his race. What a great job by Jair.
All right, so big win for the Blue Jays there at the 110 hurdles. The next event, as they will clear the hurdles off, will be the girls' 100-meter dash, followed by the boys' 100. Each of those will be won. So we'll have 4 runners in the girls' first flight, 8 in the second flight, which obviously, again, the fastest runners. And we talk about, what Easton brings to the table. They've got 2 of the 3 fastest times on the girls' side. And Deasia Robinson is the number 1 seed, and she's got a full half second on everybody else. Then when we get to the boys' side, the fastest time belongs to Easton Royal of Brother Martin, 10:38. You start to see some crossover here from football with some of these boys 100-meter runners. Recognize a lot of these names.
It's great to see those young men out there, with a big emphasis on specializing these days. It's really great to see those skill position guys, wide receivers, running backs, DBs out there running track, getting faster for the fall.
Well, there's a lot of coaches out there who believe in track and field can be part of your training. Look, the way it works out here, yeah, I mean, granted, track season's going to go on 2 more weeks, perhaps, especially for the best of the runners. But football spring practice doesn't, in most cases, doesn't even start till maybe next week. So, or the week after, depending on how it all schedules out, if a team even chooses to have spring practice. So you can participate in track and not, other than maybe some of the weight things that you want to do from a football side, you'll see it, see it across the board.
No, 100%, and I can promise you that these guys are in the weight room, because that's a big part of track and field that I think a lot of people don't understand is, we lift just like football players would. And because you have to be strong, you have to be powerful, and the only way you do that is in the weight room. And so these guys are going to get into spring ball, and they're going to be in shape, and the football coaches are going to love the track coach for it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so again, coming up first, it'll be the girls. Everything you see tonight is girls first, boys second. Four runners in this first flight of the girls' 100. Shirey Raymond, John Curtis in lane 3. Kai Jones of Chappelle in 4. Alexis Primo of Chappelle in 5. Kylie Singleton of Dominican running in lane 6 in this section 1. We mentioned the one to beat. Deasia Robinson of Warren Easton running out of lane 4 when we get to section 2. lane assignments. Lane 6 was open, but somebody's in lane 7, so I don't know why exactly that happened, but regardless, it's going to be Raymond across the line first. Ramo, I'm sorry. 13.08. Singleton is second, followed by Jones and Primo. So we'll get set for the fast section coming up here. And again, it's lane 4, the lane to watch here. Maybe the district record even in play here. 11.84 set back in 2021 by Raven Nunnery.
Could be with a good start, little wind at her back. She could go sub 12 here for sure.
And we do not have wind gauges out here to see if records are legal or, that you don't get a lot of that at the high school level.
No, not at these meets. You will when you get to Baton Rouge, but not here.
And away they go. Robertson getting pushed early by Stella Zippert of Dominican. But now it is Robertson pulling away, and she will cross the line first with Zippert in second. 11.96 the winning time.
Yep.
So a season best for Robertson as she will win. Zippert is second at 12.27. Taylor Curtis of Warren Easton third at 12.69. So 16 big points right there for Easton.
Now, that was a great race, and like we said, good start, little wind at your back, and she sure did. She went sub 12. Great job by that young lady.
All right, so the boys 100 meters next. There are 7 in the first flight, 8 in the faster section. They'll put the blocks down here for the opening flight. It will be Rowan Gleason of Jesuit in lane 1, Evan Morrell of Jesuit in 2, Derek Horton Jr. of John Curtis in 3, Thomas Vaughn of Easton in 4, Micah Green of Rummel in 5, Lawrence Landry of Carr in 6, and Keith Johnson of St. Augustine in lane 7. So those runners going to get themselves into position. See if we've got any kind of update on the team scores. If some of the field events are being scored in at this point, we can tell you that with those 16, Warren Easton has gone to the lead on the girls' side with 18, Dominican 14, Mount Carmel 12. On the boys' side, Jesuit 22, Easton 14, Brother Martin 8, John Curtis and Carr each with 6. A lot of those field events are completed, but I'm not sure they've been totally scored yet. Lane 5 is empty. I'm not sure if there was a scratch there. And on the grandstand side, Keith Johnson got out to a fast start, but it is in lanes 3 and 4 coming into the line together. I might have been too close to call right there.
I think Horton got him there at the end, right at the end there.
Horton 11.03. Vaughn 11.04. So only 6 1,000ths of a second separating those two at the line. It's the beauty of the 100. You get those photo finishes. All right, so who is the fastest male in District 9 5A. Easton Royal comes in with the number 1 time at 10:38. Josh Brown of Holy Cross at 10:45. Nazir Caesar of Rummel at 10:65. Trey Brown of Curtis at 10:69. They're the 4 that come in sub 10:07, and they'll be in the middle of the track here.
I hate to keep going back to the start, but that's a lot of times that's where that race is won and lost, is out of the blocks. We'll see who gets the best start out of this race.
After we finish with the 100, the next event on the track is going to be the girls, followed by the boys 4x200 meter relay. Now, you talk about just the configuration of the meet now. You've got the sprint hurdles, followed by the 100, followed by the 4x2 here. It minimizes the chances of doubling up in some of these things. Obviously, the 4x1 is pushed back a little bit, but it's a harder it's a harder double or triple in some of these cases for some of these sprinters.
Well, it really makes you decide as a coach, what are you going to do? Are you going to load up on your relays, or are you going to have your best sprinters run the individual events?
All right, set to go here. The first heat of the 100, and out in the middle of the track, that is in lane 4. That is Thomas Vaughn of Warren Easton. I'm sorry, that was lane 2. Is Easton Royal of Brother Martin, who got down and won it in 10:29. The wrong heat there. 10:29 for Royal, and that is a new meet record. Michael Turner had set it a year ago. It lasted a year. Turner, of course, went on to LSU for football. So that is the first time in the history of this illustrious league that someone has run 10:3 in the 100 meters. And that is now already tonight. We have seen 3 boys events, and we've seen 3 meet records on the track. Do we have more to come? Stay tuned. We'll find out.
No kidding.
So we'll get set up for next, what will be the girls 4x200 meter relays. And it gives us a chance to remind you that our coverage here on Crescent City Sports brought to you by Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute, treating more than 30,000 athletes a year with innovative treatments for sports injuries. Visit ochsner.org/sportsmed to learn more. All right, so for the 4x2, you'll have a couple of runners starting here near the finish line and 2 other runners who will start their legs over on the far side of the track as we view it. 4 teams on the girls' side. It'll be Edna Carr in lane 4, Dominican in 5, Mount Carmel in 6, and Chappelle in 7 for this. We wait for them to get the runners together. They're starting to gather out here on the infield. That's where they assemble before they take their positions.
Yeah, they're going to take their time here, Lenny. They're going to stick to the time schedule
Right.
and not run ahead.
Well, you don't. The thing about running ahead, well, it seems like, oh, that's great. Let's finish up. You have to allow for the proper amount of rest to happen for these runners who are doubling and tripling up, competing in multiple events. They've got to have that time to be able to do that. So you've got to stick to the schedule at this point.
Right. When this much is at stake, you definitely want to have that time for those kids.
If we were, dare I say, threatened by you know, the likes of precipitation. There's some clouds over there, but it doesn't appear to be a threat. You see the sun is out right now, so it's well, it's a warm day. Yeah, that's all the more reason. Yeah, they've got to be able to rehydrate. Huh? Oh yeah. Welcome to Louisiana in April, where you thought it was still spring. No. Just ignore your calendar, please. It's that just means it's early summer. That's all.
That's right.
By the way, tomorrow night here at Crescent City Sports, 5:50 airtime, 6 o'clock first pitch from Harahan Playground. It'll be Game 2 of the best of 3 Division I Select Playoff Series between Archbishop Rummel and John Curtis. Ken Trahan and Danny Ream will have the call for that one. Matt Merritt, our producer tonight, will be on hand as well. 5:50, our airtime, 6 o'clock first pitch, right here on Crescent City Sports. It's interesting with the high school calendar this year. Everything's seemingly a week later. Just kind of juggled back a little bit, just the way the calendar fell. The baseball playoffs are expanded, so actually their regular season got cut off by a couple of days because they extended, and they're actually, I think, finishing a week later than probably they would have ordinarily, because now every round is a best of 3 series. So basically they're playing one series a week to be able to accomplish that. And so we're into the second round. Well, the quarterfinals next weekend, semifinals in 2 weeks, and then the state, what used to be 4 teams from every classification, went to the state championship in Sulphur, and at least the higher classification is just going to be 2 teams going there for a best of 3 series. So it's a little bit different situation to look at. Not, in a lot of cases, like you get to have some more home games potentially if you're a good team. You get those, and look, single games in baseball can be, a bit of who has the best number 1 pitcher. At least, now everything's getting decided by a best of 3 series, and the same teams may end up winning, but at least it keeps the format relatively equal.
Sort of levels the playing field a little bit, it seems, huh?
Yeah, exactly. If you tried to make a track and field analogy, I don't know, if you ran, one kind of meet with, with all of these events going on at one point during the year, and all of a sudden you got to the next round, and we're not going to run all of these events anymore. We're gonna shorten things up. That wouldn't exactly be the fair way to do things. So,
right.
All right, runners being called out to the track here for the girls 4x200 relay. Again, it will be Carr in lane 4, Dominican in 5, Mount Carmel in 6, and Chappelle in 7. You see some stretched out staggers here because you stay in your lanes throughout on this, or where?
Throughout, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So a little bit different than what you would see if we were just running a flat 800 here,
right?
Because you're staying in your lane. So you see some significant staggers to make up here. You see how the runners are spread out across those 4 lanes. We get set to go. Now we're back on time here, 6:25. So,
well, Coach Petapento down there runs a tight ship, Lenny.
Mm-hmm. It's going to go when it's time to go.
That's right.
Curtis holds the meet record here in the 4x2, 141.39, set in 2021. A year ago, Carr won this event in 145.58. They actually come in with the third fastest time this year, 149.59. They will be to the inside as we view it in lane 4.
Still waiting on that first and third exchange to get themselves situated down there. It's got the yellow flag up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of.
Oh, there's your white flag. They're ready to run.
Get them in position.
Just kidding, Lenny.
Oh,
not ready to run.
Hold on.
Looks like one of the Chappelle team was at the wrong starting line there.
Now you could see out there on the track just how many marks there are. It's especially when you're coming to a place that maybe you haven't run before, or again, it's an older surface here. You got to make sure again you're in the right position.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't take this long for the Saints to make their first-round pick coming up in a couple of hours.
Got any predictions there, Lenny?
Oh, no. No. I'll leave that to the experts.
All right, sounds good.
Best player on the board. On paper, this appears to be a pretty good race here as we are off and running. It is Carr in 4, Dominican 5, Mount Carmel 6, Chappelle in 7. Again, they will stay in their lanes throughout. Mount Carmel quickly making up the stagger on Chappelle, and they would appear to be in position to make the first handoff, with Carr not far behind.
That appears to be Sydney Sales there on the lead leg. She's their best quarter miler, really good sprinter. So she did a great job of putting her team out in front.
Mount Carmel will own a large lead coming down the straightaway for the first time. Cubs in lane 6. They will make the second exchange first. Followed by Carr and then by Dominican. Race is tightening up a bit as we head down towards the final exchange. Let's see how this plays out.
Going to come down to this anchor leg.
Mount Carmel and Carr almost handed it off identically as we turn for home. And Dominican is closing the gap. These three teams were only separated by 2 seconds in seed time, and it's playing out that way as Dominican has taken the lead down the stretch. Mount Carmel trying to come back, but it is going to be Dominican to take the 4x2 with Mount Carmel second and Carr third. 148.39 is the winning time.
Wow, what a great job by Dominican coming back, staying, not panicking. Get the stick around, get it to your anchor, put her in a position to bring her back for the win. I'm not sure if that was Olivia Bordes or not, but she's probably their top sprinter, and if that was her, it doesn't surprise me one bit.
Stella Zippert was part of that pool. Now, she just ran a few minutes ago and finished second in the 100 meters. So I don't know if she was a part of that. But now we move on. The boys will take the track, and we, again, have seen nothing but records thus far. Now, this one may be tough to break here. The meet record is 125.16, set 2 years ago by Edna Carr. The best time this year in the district is 129.45 by John Curtis. They will be in lane 5. The field from inside to out, it's Edna Carr in 2, St. Augustine in 3, Rummel in 4, Curtis in 5. Jesuit has the second fastest time. They are in 6. Warren Easton in 7, Brother Martin in 8th, Holy Cross in lane 9. Again, Carr, St. Aug, Rummel, Curtis, Jesuit, Easton, Brother Martin, Holy Cross here for the 4x2. Can this be? This is a race that I guess just because of the staggers and because you're staying in your lane can be kind of deceiving. Trying to watch it. I mean, obviously, if you run it enough times, you know what you're looking at. But to the naked eye, this can be something that's kind of deceiving to watch, isn't it? Very
much so, and it's even more deceiving for the runners themselves, because if you're in lane 1 or lane 2, you appear that you're so far behind, and sometimes that could break a kid's spirit, and conversely, if you're in lane 8 or lane 9, you think you've got a massive lead, and you may not be running quite as hard. That's why you got to have those middle lanes, the preferred lanes, and that's all based on that seed time.
Got a white flag at the first and third exchange. So again, 3 boys running events, 3 meet records thus far. Trying to make it 4 for 4, but this one's going to be tough.
I'm going to predict this one's safe.
Off we go in the 4x2. Carr, St. Aug, Rummel, Curtis, Jesuit, Easton, Brother Martin, Holy Cross from inside to outside. The thing you want to watch for is who makes those handoffs first.
Who makes the handoffs first, Lenny? And if they can keep that baton moving at the same rate of speed throughout the exchange zone, that's super important.
Looked like it may have been Brother Martin and Jesuit who made the handoffs first, and they are cutting off the staggers and the runners to their outside. We get to the halfway mark. Let's look at the handoffs here. On the outside, the handoffs were almost identical, but it looked like Jesuit may have had a slight edge in the middle of the track. Along with Curtis, and that may be Curtis actually who's going on top here.
Curtis with the exchange first.
Here they turn for home. That Curtis, Jesuit, Brother Martin looking like they're 1, 2, 3, and right in between them, Warren Easton making up a huge gap. I don't know if he can get there, but they're not going to catch John Curtis, it would appear. The Patriots are going to take the 4x2. It will be Easton second, Jesuit in third, I believe.
Yes.
129.92 the winning time. So Curtis just off their season best. Easton in second, 130.87. That's just off their season best. And Jesuit in third, 131.27. All right, so up next is the girls' 1,600-meter run, and it gives us the first chance, I guess, to tell the story of Catalina Reichert, who set a meet record in this event a year ago. She dominated this event, or dominated this meet a year ago. Won the 1,600 in record time. Came back an hour later, won the 3,200 in record time. missed the spring season last year because of an injury, and now she's back, and she has the top seed time here of 5:09.49, which is just a fraction of a second off her meet record of 2 years ago of 5:09.32. She's also entered in the 3,200. Did not come in with a seed time there, but again, she ran 11:20.37 a year ago. Interestingly, Grace Schneider of Dominican has a faster time than that, than the meet record. We get to the 3,200 a little bit later on. That will be something to watch.
That will be fun.
But Reichert and Stella Junius are 1-2 in terms of the seeds in this event, and then it is a full 27 seconds back to the next runner, which is Sydney Chalmers of Dominican. So without having Reichert in the field last year, Mount Carmel still ran 1-2 with Stella Junius and Lucy Quintana. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. This will be, it's the 1,600 meters is the metric mile. We'll run 4 laps around the 400-meter oval here at Tad Gormley. But Reichert comes in 5:09.49, her best of the year. Junius 5:17.12, which a year ago when she won this event, she ran 5:23.33. Chalmers is the next best time, 5:44.13. Now, I should mention Grace Schneider of Dominican, who's got that outstanding time in the 3,200, is entered here without a seed time in the 1,600. So you're trying, look, you talk about trying to do things here maybe to win a district championship. That's one of those things. You see Schneider, who's focused on the 3,200 all year long, she's entered in the 1,600. You see Reichert, who's been focused on the 1,600 all year long, she's also entered in the 3,200 here.
Right. What you have to do is you have to put your best athletes out there, your best runners, your best competitors out there to give your team the best chance to come away with a district championship.
And we're getting a few more scores from the field event, so let's update you on what's going on in the team scores at this point. Mount Carmel with 56 points. Dominican is second with 44. Warren Easton third with 39. Carr is fourth with 17. Chappelle fifth with 15. John Curtis is sixth with 16. On the boys' side, Jesuit leads with 78 points. Brother Martin is second with 58. John Curtis third with 54. Warren Easton fourth with 50. Then it's Rummel 28, Holy Cross 23, and St. Aug at 9, and Carr with 6. Then you look at it, where they're getting them from. Mount Carmel picked up 38 points in the jumps and throws.
Wow.
26 in the jumps, 12 in the throws. Jesuit is also strong in the field events. They got 28 points in the jumps, 22 in the throws. And they've got the two best times coming up in the boys' 1,600 to where perhaps they've got a chance to add on in that league. But again, you've got, Brother Martin is third and fourth there. They're going to be right there. We got to see how that top 4, if indeed they're the top 4, all plays out, because that could play a big part in helping decide how this district championship is going to play out. So the runners making their way into position. It's a waterfall start here right at the finish line. Not in lanes. 1,600 is the first of the races in terms of distances where you go to this type of start. So 8 are listed, but I don't see 8 on the track. So perhaps we could figure out if there were some scratches here. Let's take a look at the...
Looks like the Dominican contingency just showed up.
Okay.
So that should give us 7 now.
That's 7, right. We'll see soon enough here.
I don't see Skylar from Edna Carr there on the track.
Okay.
Perhaps she's a scratch.
All right, so 7 will run here in this girls' 1,600 meter. And we're off here in the girls' 1,600 meters. And from the inside, Reichert quickly wants to establish control of the pace. That's the advantage you get when you've got the fastest time, right? You're in the pole position, so to speak. You can control things.
You're in the driver's seat, no doubt about it. And I think that's historically her MO. She likes to get out fast. Of course, she's got the ability to hold that pace, so not everybody can do that.
See the time at the top of your screen there. She set the meet record again 2 years ago in this event, 5:09:32. So if you start thinking about equal paces here, that would put her at about, is that about a 77-second quarter mile? She will cross the line.
14.
74 seconds. So you figure they may slow down a little, but still a pretty strong early pace.
We shall see.
That's her teammate Junius right at her hip. To the inside. About a meter and a half lead right now, if that. That's one thing, obviously, that the distance runners are good at doing, or working as a tandem.
Right.
From the same team. You see it in cross country all the time.
Yeah, that's what the big misconception about cross country and track, particularly from the distance side. It is such an individualistic thing, but these young men and women work together day in and day out on pacing and things of that nature, and it really becomes quite a team effort.
So it is still 1-2 at the front for Mount Carmel. Let's see what our 800-meter split is. They are indeed slowing down a little bit here. It is
5:08 pace.
Yeah, yep. A little bit slowed down there on that second lap.
Now this is the lap that every distance runner really tries to bear down and focus on in the 16 is that third lap. Sometimes you can fall asleep, particularly if you're not being pushed by someone. But these two young ladies are pushing each other, and they might both break the record.
Again, Reichert came in with a season best 5:09:49. Junius 5:17:12. And they've been basically in this position for about the time we started. Now Reichert's going to open up about a 2.5, 3 meter lead here on her teammate. They will come towards the bell lap. .400 meters to go, and 3:51. So that is right at a record pace here. That would stay at that 5:08 pace, so a 77-second lap in lap number 3 for Catalina Reichert, who is stretching it out now, as you can see. Almost a 10-meter lead over her teammate Stella Junius, who won this event a year ago while Reichert was on the sidelines. 2 years ago, Reichert won it and set a meet record. Can she top that here? That is the question.
She's got a chance.
See what kind of kick she has coming home. You see the clock. Again, the time to beat for the meet record is 5:09:32. definitely in her sights. And she's got it.
There it is.
And she knows it. Official time for Catalina Reichert, 5:05:53.
And 5:11 by Junius. Great race by her.
Grace Schneider comes in third at 5:15. So 18 big points there for Mount Carmel. It will be 10 for Dominican as Sydney Chalmers. Check that, Mia Duncan of John Curtis is in fourth. And then Sydney Chalmers of Dominican comes in fifth. So a big run by Duncan to finish fourth right there. So Catalina Reichert set the meet record 2 years ago, missed last season, comes back this year, breaks her own meet record by just about 4 seconds in winning the girls' 1600.
Very impressive race.
And that will extend Mount Carmel's lead over Dominican. They're going to pick up 18 points to Dominican's 8 right there. That's a big jump. And they came in with a 12-point lead. They're going to stretch it out to 22. So next on the track, the boys' 1,600-meter run. And when you look at the boys' standings and you see right now, Jesuit first and Brother Martin in second, same type of thing in play here. What happens here? The gap isn't as great here. Brady Mullen has got the top seeded time at 4:18.77. Connor Fanberg, 4:23.53. Then it's Jack Collins of Brother Martin at 4:26 flat. And Braden Dunn of Brother Martin, 4:26.69. Those four have clearly separated themselves in terms of the pace here. It's 13 seconds back to the fifth fastest time, Keegan Martin of Holy Cross. So, again, how this ends up playing out can play a part in deciding a district championship. Hold on, we got a false start here.
The very rare false start on the 1600 there, Lenny.
Now explain the rules here for a false start on the high school level.
Well, it's really up to the discretion of the starter. No one appeared to be trying to gain an advantage there. Somebody probably just got a little wobbly on the line as the starter was calling it. So he just sends him back and restarts the race.
Off we go. Just like we saw about 5 minutes ago, it was the Mount Carmel runners out to set the pace. This time the Jesuit runners out to try to do the same. With the pair of Brother Martin runners close behind.
So the goal here has to be for Brother Martin to bust up the two Jesuit runners, Brady and Connor, and hope to gain some extra points.
Yeah.
In the team scoring there.
At worst, you want to split. If you
Yes.
can get an advantage out of this, it's even better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if somehow one of your two runners wins the race, then at worst you should be splitting the points. And who knows, if you can finish 1-2, then you've got a chance to make up 8 points.
Absolutely.
So they'll pass us for the first time. You see the two Blue Jay runners out there on top with the two Crusader runners close behind, and I believe is Martin from Holy Cross right behind them. So just as the seeds have gone, that's how we're running at this point. Almost 500 meters into this race. And they are creating some separation as well. Now, you talk about district records. Here's an interesting one and a one that hits home, and I think I mentioned this last year when it was Mullen, I believe, who broke the 3,200-meter record that had been held for 42 years by the late Keith Iveen, my former high school classmate at Archbishop Rummel, whose 1,600 and 3,200-meter records stood in tandem for 42 years. Mullen broke the 3,200 record a year ago. His seed time is 2 seconds off that meet record of 4:16.10. And you see that is just a pack of four as we hit the 800-meter mark here, and they're 2:18. This is not going to be a record pace.
No.
But again, they've got. You talked about top four advance. There are bigger fish to fry in all of this. Mullen is certainly capable of going out and running some extraordinary times, as we've seen on a cross-country circuit, as we saw last year in the 3,200, a number of different levels. He can certainly deliver.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's going to conserve here because he knows he's got to come back and run the 32. Coach Nick Accardo probably just said, hey, look, let's do what we got to do to get the win and get ready for one more race today.
Now, Fanberg is not. Fanberg is only running the 1,600 here. It is Brady Monahan who is running the 3,200. Mm-hmm. But again, with one lap to go, let's see how this finishes out here. You see people try to kick it in gear right now with one lap to go. It's anybody's race here. As you see those four runners still in one pack altogether. Who's going out and trying to take this right now? Will it be the Jesuit tandem, perhaps? They're trying to separate themselves, and they're doing a great job of it right now. Mullen and Fanberg running in tandem in the lead here with Collins and Dunn about 3 meters behind. Does one of those Brother Martin runners have a closing kick to try to split this up? I don't know that they can. The two Jesuit runners are going to come to the line or the final 100 meters together. They're going to have to avoid some trailing runners here, and let's see how it finishes out as they head for home. It will be a 1-2 Jesuit finish here in the 1,600. With Brother Martin going 3-4, Fanberg wins it in 4:23.63, Mullen 4:25.49.
Again, do what you have to do to go 1-2 and conserve the energy when you need to. Mullen certainly did that there. Not trying to have to go after that record. Records are nice. But
well, I say that here. Let's make sure, because for some reason Mullen didn't register here, so they may have to. Let's see what those final times are. It's showing Fanberg as the winner right now, but that's. Again, not sure why Mullen did not register across the line. They may have adjusted that now. Yeah, it's Mullen in 4:23.04. So that just got somehow missed by the timing device the first time through, and they can go back and look and make that adjustment, and they do. So it's Brady Mullen of Jesuit winning the 1,600 in 4:23.04 with his teammate Connor Fanberg less than 0.6 of a second behind in 4:23.63. So 18 big points there for Jesuit, 10 for Brother Martin. Next up on the track, now we get to some fun stuff here, right? The girls 4x100 meter relay. Meet record is 48.22, held by John Curtis in 2019. No one has run under 50 seconds this year, so that would seemingly be safe here. I know you're looking forward to the boys 4x1 just because there's so much talent in that race in terms of the runners we will see on the track, and that is really a wide-open race.
And looking at those seat times, I definitely think that will be the most entertaining race of the evening.
Yeah, we've got, when we get to the boys race, we have, 5 teams separated by less than half a second. John Curtis, Brother Martin, Holy Cross, Jesuit, and Rummel, all running between 42.57 and 43.01 this year.
What do they say? Get your popcorn ready?
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll get ready first for the girls 4x100 meter relay. It will be Edna Carr in lane 4, Dominican in 5, Mount Carmel in 6, Chappelle in 7. Dominican, who won the 4x2 just a bit ago, has the best time in the 4x1 of 50.64. So while they get ready there, let's see if we've got an update on scores here. Mount Carmel with 70, Dominican 49, Warren Easton 39, Carr 17, John Curtis and Chappelle each with 15. On the boys' side, Jesuit 96, Brother Martin 68, John Curtis 55, Warren Easton 50, Rummel 28, Holy Cross 25, St. Aug with 9, and Carr with 6. So Jesuit and Mount Carmel with some separation at this point as they look to defend their titles. So now you got to get 3 sets of judges in place here for the exchanges. Got to make sure all of those are in place. The runners have gotten into position.
White flags all the way around. Looks like we're ready to run.
All right. Off we go in the 4x1 girls. Carr, Dominican, Mount Carmel, Chappelle. Mount Carmel quickly cutting off the stagger, and they will make the exchange handoff first, followed by Dominican.
Yeah, sorry, Lenny. Dominican starter had a little bit of a stumble out of the block there, but they've got Zimper, they've got Bordes, so
they're making up some ground, and they made the second handoff in the lead, stretching it out right now. Dominican will hand it off again with a big lead, and they are going to roll to victory here in the 4x1 with Mount Carmel's second. Carr closing on the inside, nearly got up for second, but they will finish third. The winning time, 51.35 seconds. So Dominican showing some strength here in the sprint relays, winning the 4x2, winning the 4x1. But in the process, not able to make up a whole lot of ground on Mount Carmel in the process of scoring. You think about the idea of, I know this is done in swimming where relays count double points. Should relays count for more than other races because of the fact that you've got 4 people involved in it as opposed to 1?
That's a really great question, Lenny. That's something we really have never talked about as a track and field association. I don't know. That might be something to bring up to our executive board to see if that's something that we want to look at. I'm not sure if any other states do that, but it certainly would be something to explore.
Next on the track, the boys 4x100 meter relay. We talked about this one. This should be a lot of fun to watch. It'll be St. Augustine in lane 2, John Curtis Christian in 3, Brother Martin in 4. Holy Cross as the fastest time, coming in at 42.57. They're in 5. Jesuit in 6. Rummel in 7. Easton in 8th. And Carr in 9. Holy Cross at 42.57, Jesuit at 42.72, Brother Martin at 42.80, Rummel at 42.99, and John Curtis at 43.01. Come in with the 5 best times, and I think what that shows is you're seeing some depth in those programs.
No, absolutely right about that, Lenny.
Remember, of course, you start looking at individuals. Easton Royal set the meet record just a little while ago in the 100 meters. Jair Burks is part of the pool for Jesuit. He set the meet record in the 110 hurdles just before that. So Jesuit leadoff runner needs somebody to stand on his blocks and get somebody out there to do that. We'll get a check around and see if the exchange officials are all ready. And we'll be set to go for what promises to be an entertaining race here in the boys 4x1. Away we go.
Good solid start by all of the runners today.
You watch the handoff. You see a stagger being cut off there in lane 8 by Easton. This is looking pretty wide open as we head to the second exchange as we expected. There were 3 or 4 of them together, and you see a big cutoff of the stagger by John Curtis in lane 3. They may make the handoff first, and it looks like they did.
Easton running away with it.
Check that. Is that Easton?
No, I'm sorry.
That's lane 5.
That's
that is
Holy
Holy Cross, who won this a year ago. They set a meet record 2 years ago. Holy Cross in lane 5, 41:54, just off their own meet record of 2 years ago.
Wow.
Brother Martin is second. I mean, that they opened that up. They won that by a full second. Brother Martin second at 42:53. That is a season high. So we go back and look at the rest of the times there, because that was a terrific race.
That was well run by Holy Cross. No doubt about it. Their leadoff got out, did a great job pushing the stick through the zone, kept it at the same rate of speed, and that anchor leg had a tremendous finish.
All right, let's see here. So it's 41:55 for Holy Cross, 42:54 for Brother Martin, 42:64 for Rummel. That is a season high. 43:02 for Jesuit, 43:49 for Easton. That is a season high. Or a season best, I should say. 44:62 for St. Aug, 44:73 for Carr, also a season high. Curtis actually did not start, which I missed that. But you have a lot of teams turning in season best right there. Looking at the field events, the girls' shot put and the 2 high jumps are all that is missing from the scoring at this point, and we're down to 6 running events. Is that right?
I think so. Looks like the girls' shot put is still being contested down there. On the
they
south
were
end
doing.
of the field.
They were doing boys then girls, I believe, in that. So next up on the track is going to be the girls' 400 meters, and that will be run in 2 flights. You've got 12 entries here, all 6 schools entering 2.
This shapes up to be a pretty good race between McGinnis and Sales, and I wouldn't sleep on Olivia Bordes either.
No doubt. She's got a seed time here of 1 minute and 92 100ths of a second, but clearly, based on her sprinting ability, she's got the chance to run better than that seed time. You mentioned McGinnis, Johanna McGinnis of John Curtis, 58:07 comes in with the fastest time. Sydney Sales of Mount Carmel, 59:54 has the second fastest time. Then it's Bordas. Then it's Taylor Curtis of Warren Easton at 101.55. And then Josephine Randall of Mount Carmel, 102.98. So kind of those top spots a little bit spread out here. So you think the points get spread out. And really what that is, that's advantage Mount Carmel at that point because nobody's really making up ground on your lead.
No, that's exactly right.
So as we get ready for that race, let's update the team scoring. And Dominicans actually closed back here. They picked up some ground with that win in the 4x1, but they also, at the same time, must have gotten some points in the field events as well because they are just 10 points behind Mount Carmel, 77-67. Warren Easton third with 41. Then it's back to John Curtis, 23, Carr, 21, Chappelle, 17. On the boys' side, it's Jesuit 100, Brother Martin 76. Then it's back to John Curtis 55, Warren Easton 52, Holy Cross 35, Rummel 34, St. Aug with 10, and Carr with 6. So that is, again, 6 running events on either side. We're missing the girls' shot put at this point. The boys' high jump is in progress. The girls' high jump has just been completed, and that may be where Dominican picked up some ground, and indeed they did. They went 2-3 there to pick up 10 points. Adeline Dufresne, you talked about her. She goes, after winning the hurdles, goes out and wins the high jump in 5-4. So, very impressive there. But Dominican does go 1-2. Meantime, Mount Carmel had 2 athletes tie for 5th, and this was only because of the depth of the field with only 7 competitors. They only scored 5. So Dominicans got 10 points in that event, and Mount Carmel got 1.
Right.
And that Dominican picks up 9 points in the process there. Plus, we mentioned they picked up the 2 in the relay. So now all of a sudden they've closed it back to 10.
Makes this 400 coming up super important for Dominican if they want to continue to close that gap.
Yeah, exactly. If Bordes can find a way to perhaps, outrun that seed time and perhaps win this, that's a chance to pick up some ground there. Again, Mount Carmel's got the 2nd and 5th fastest times here. Dominican has the 3rd and 6th fastest times coming in, and that will be in the 2nd section. We'll have the 1st section coming up in just a moment.
And, going back to what you said earlier about sticking to the schedule, Lenny, it's even more important here, particularly for a kid like Bordes who, ran on the 4x1, and now she's going to come back an event later and run this Open 4. So, staying on schedule, making sure that the recovery and the rest time is appropriate for these kids becomes even more crucial.
And if you're a coach, I'm certain you're like reminding people, hey, we need to make sure we run this when we're supposed to run it, not early.
Slow down a little bit, right?
That's
yeah,
it.
Exactly.
So we're about 2 minutes away from the scheduled start of the 400-meter dash. Girls, again, first, then boys in all of these running events today. As you look ahead to the boys' side, the top seed is Connor LaCour of Jesuit. So that now they're, we talked about the hurdles and an advantage there. Now they come in with the number 1 seed, in the quarter mile here with LaCour at 49.18, followed by Gabriel Gonzalez of John Curtis at 49.39, Carson Kenny of Brother Martin at 50.03. So LaCour with a chance possibly to pick up even more ground for Jesuit in this event, as they are currently with the lead by, let's see, what was the last score we saw? Let's see if it actually updated again. We got another field event in. 114-76 now. Imagine they just scored the high jump, perhaps. Let's see if that's the case. That may have been what just went in. Yeah, Jesuit with Drago Satanovic, the junior, winning that one. And Brant Blanchard finishing 2nd, so they picked up 14 points there, while Brother Martin did not have a competitor in that event, so they just stretched that lead even more. John Curtis, by the way, went 2-3 there with Jarvis Stevenson and Jaden Thomas. So the Patriots pick up 14 points. All right, we're set for this first heat of the girls' 400 meters. It is Sage McReynolds from Chappelle in 3, Riley James of Carr in 4, Dakota Banks of Carr in 5, Dijah Robertson of Easton in 6, who doesn't have a seed time here, but remember, she won the 100 a while back in 11:96. So you certainly want to watch her here going out. She may go out and just put up a time that may end up getting something on the board here. But because she came in with no time, she ends up in the second flight. And you see what she's doing right now. She is, 50 meters ahead of the pack at the 200-meter mark, not even?
That's unfortunate because you would really like to see what she would do in that fast heat coming up next, because she is all by herself, not even close. I would say 75 meters lead on the field.
She's going to hit the straightaway coming for home, and everybody else is still going to be midway through the turn. Just running against the clock right here. See what you can put up. She's got a chance to put up a time that not only might score, but it's going to be hard to beat. Let's see what she's going to run.
She's going to go sub 60 here, Lenny.
57 and change. Let's see what this official time is. 58.08 for Dijah Robertson. Banks will be second, followed by James and McReynolds.
Right. Remember that time at home, folks.
58.08. Now let's take a look at this. McGinnis has the fastest seed time in the field, 58.07. So that's kind of what, if you're looking for par here, and obviously we've seen a lot of people outrun their season best in a lot of cases here, but that's what's in play right now.
And you have to wonder what that does to these young ladies that are about to run, having just seen someone from the quote-unquote slow heat go 58.0, right?
Right. You're used to just being able to run, against your competitors. Obviously, you get in a bigger meet, and maybe there's not enough time to run finals. You're used to running heats against time at different points in the sport. And everybody doesn't always end up in the fast heats. You end up in a lot of different heats along the way.
That's
but
right.
Let's see how this plays out. So here in the fast heat, it's going to be Nikita Mollison of Chappelle in 2, Josephine Randall of Mount Carmel in 3, Olivia Bordas of Dominican in 4, Johanna McGinnis of Curtis in 5, Sydney Salz of Mount Carmel in 6, Taylor Curtis of Easton in 5, Taylor Curtis of Easton in 6, Madigan Lee Dominican in 7, and Hadley Matthias of Curtis in 8. And early on in the middle of the track there, is that Taylor Curtis that's out there early? But she may be getting run down here on the stagger by McGinnis. And you got to go out and run against that time, and they're going out there and trying to do that right now. And that's McGinnis with the lead coming down the lane.
And as we said before, don't sleep on Bordas. Here she is coming up in the second position.
Bordas second. Can she hold on? And I believe she did enough to take the win here. Let's wait for the official time to come up. 57.95 for McGinnis. That will be enough for the win, but Robertson is going to get second. Bordas third at 59.86, or second in the heat, but third overall at 59.86. So 3 sub-60 times here in the girls' 400-meter dash, and a couple of others came in there at just over 1 minute.
That's impressive.
So next on the track, it'll be the boys' 400-meter dash. We will see 2 full fields here. Everyone entered 2 in this event. And again, you've got 3 runners in here who did not have seed times this year. So you got to watch them on the outside to see if they can possibly pull off something similar to what we saw a moment ago. It's Thomas McGriff of Holy Cross in 1, Kanye Barnes of Edna Carr in 2, Kyrie Johnson of Rummel in 3, Christopher Dupuy of St. Augustine in 4, Charles Lestrick III of St. Aug in 5, Cash Kelly of Holy Cross in 6, Julian Green of Carr in 7, and Nealon Lee of Rummel in 8. In the first of 2 heats, well, looks like lane 1 may be a scratch here. There is no runner in lane 1, so assume that McGriff is a DNS listed on the live stats. Did not run here. So this will be the first of 2 heats, and The seed times all 56 seconds or higher, but again, you got a couple of runners on the outside, Green and Lee, who did not have seed times. Perhaps they can turn something in. Away we go in the first of two sections of the boys, 400 meters. And Lee is off to a good start all the way on the outside in lane 8. When you're running this race, it's when you're all the way on the outside and you don't have somebody to run down on a stagger, how hard is that?
Makes it really tough. Because you don't know what's going on behind you. You can't see anything other than the track in front of you. So it's tough. It really is tough on these young guys and girls. Again, that's why you want to have that good seed time so you can be right there in the middle, lanes 4, 5, or 6, and kind of see what you're up against.
Well, this looks like Cash Kelly of Holy Cross came in with a best of 58.32, and it looks like he's got a chance to outrun that right here by quite a bit. He will cross the line in, 54 and 53.24. Wow. That's a big time. Will that be enough to possibly score in this event? We'll have to see. Lestrick is second at 55.23. And Kyrie Johnson is third at 56.47. So, certainly in terms of seed time, that's going 53.24 should get beaten here. But the question is, can more than 6 runners beat 53.24, and could Cash Kelly scoop up a point out of the first section? So we get set for section number 2 here. William Peoples of Brother Martin in lane 1. Anthony Johnson of John Curtis in 2. Carson Kenny of Brother Martin in 3. Connor LaCour of Jesuit in 4 with the fastest time coming in. Johnson is a scratch. Let's add that there. So Gabriel Gonzalez in 5. Kai Clay of Easton in 6. Ellery Boyd of Easton in 7. David Paul Pruitt of Jesuit on the outside in lane 8. False start.
Young man from Brother Martin disqualified.
All right. For a false start. So we're down to 6 here in this fast section of the.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Brother Martin, John Curtis, I believe.
No, John Curtis. No, it was a false start.
Was
he's up. Yes, it was
okay,
Peoples.
okay.
Yeah, Johnson did not start. So lanes 1 and 2 sit empty, and 3 through 8 will be our contested lanes for this second section. Here we go in the second section of the boys 400. Pretty even start there. Looks like Connor LaCour Jesuit trying to cut off some of that stagger in 4. But so are his counterparts. They're racing pretty evenly in lanes 4 through 7 right now. It's going to be interesting to see how they come out of this second turn. LaCour to the inside in 4, Gonzalez in 5, Clay in 6, Boyd in 7. And now Carson Kenny from Brother Martin closing back in 3, and it's a 3-horse race as we hit the straightaway. Kenny, LaCour, and Gonzalez across the track. This is Gabriel Gonzalez from John Curtis trying to outrun them both, and he is going to win the 400 meters. 49.87 his winning time. LaCour finishes second at 50.09, just ahead of Kenny at 50.11. So Gabriel Gonzalez of John Curtis with an impressive performance there to pull away from that three-man pack down the lane and defeat Connor LaCour and Carson Kenny and win the district championship in the boys' 400 meters.
Just had a little bit more there at the end than the other two, Lenny.
All right, so we'll have a bit of a break in the action here as we get ready for the girls' 300-meter hurdles. Got to get all of those hurdles in place. We'll get you caught up on team scoring in just a moment, but before that, let's tell you tonight's coverage of Crescent City Sports is brought to you by Gibbs Construction, a leader in the construction industry in Louisiana and the Gulf Coast for more than 45 years, transforming dreams, visions, and plans into reality. Gibbs Construction. So you see the hurdles getting put in place.
I was just going to say kudos to the Holy Cross students out there, as I believe they are the official meet host today.
They are.
Yep.
The way it works is each year the chairmanship of the district rotates from one school to the next. When we first started doing this 2 years ago, it was Brother Martin who was the host. Last year it was St. Augustine. This year it is Holy Cross. And the district chairman is the one who hosts the district track meet. Other things, there's not a lot of championship events that are specific to the district, as it were. It's just the way it works out. But, obviously what cross country there is, there can be there's been a district wrestling tournament at different times, obviously track and field, but when you get in that situation, that is when you step up and you have a situation like this. And there's other ways to assign it as well. I think it's been done in wrestling basically based on who may have won the year before and has the right to host, or other different things. Obviously, this that's at a location. This is always at Tad Gormley, and while everybody participates in it, obviously there's a greater burden that falls on the host school, and that this year being the district chairmanship with Holy Cross. So we are down to, at this point, 5 running events left. We've got the intermediate hurdles coming up, followed by the 800 meters, the 200, the 3,200, and the 4x4. So let's take a look at where we stand on scoring as we get set for this 300-meter hurdles. It is, how about this? Dominican has taken a 1-point lead over Mount Carmel now, 79-78. Warren Easton is in third with 49. John Curtis in fourth. Chappelle fifth. Edna Carr sixth. And things are spread out now pretty well on the boys' side. Jesuit has opened up a 40-point lead on Brother Martin. John Curtis is closing the gap there. They made a big jump and moved up close to third, close to second. They're still in third, but just 3 points behind Brother Martin with 79. Warren Easton 57.5 in fourth place. So as we take a look at the events that have been scored thus far, I would imagine we are just down to the running events, and exactly we are. Everything now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, everything that's left is the running events. So no more field event scores to come in. But what you see it, Dominican 79, Mount Carmel 78, and then a big gap down to Warren Easton at 49. So now every one of those performances, every point you can get to maybe run that half second faster and finish a place ahead of the person that's in front of you. You got to look at that here. You start here at the 300-meter hurdles. You've got Kaylin LeGraze of Dominican running in lane 1. You got Harper Griffin of Dominican running in lane 6 with the 4th fastest time here. For Mount Carmel, you got Simone Gust, who has the 3rd fastest time in lane 3, and Sophie Wilkin, who has the 6th fastest time running in lane 7. So there now let's see how this all plays out. But again, when you're in a 1-point race and you're down, 14 of 19 events are in the book. Every event is going to matter at this point.
Absolutely. Mount Carmel looked like they were running away with it at one point in time, and then they get to the 400. Bordes finishes a little bit ahead of Sales, and that was a bit of an upset. So there's a shift in the points. You come here to the 300 hurdles, and this is going to be a dogfight for it looks to be third place and getting 6 points for your team, because it looks like Lawrence and Dufresne should go 1-2 here, but then you've got Griffin and you've got Gust, who are going to battle it out for third.
Yeah, not a huge gap in seed times here. I mean,
No.
Lawrence 48.08, Dufresne 48.77, then Gust 49.55 with the third fastest, and then Griffin from Dominican fourth 50.35. Then there's a big drop off. So you would think on paper that the four in the middle there in lanes 3, 4, 5, and 6 are in position to run 1, 2, 3, 4 in some order here, depending on performance. That's what you've got to watch. And then obviously you start picking up those straight points for 5th and 6th. You've got a Mount Carmel runner and Dominican runner sitting outside the top 4 in seed times. One of them gets to 5th, it gets those 2 points, and maybe the other one runs 7th. Now that becomes a 2-point swing. So it's those little things as a coach. I know it drives you crazy at times, but you start looking at all of those little things out there. That where can I get a point here? Where can I get a point there? Who's going to step up and give me something? Obviously, you've got your pools of athletes that you're going to draw from in the 4x4. You'd love for it to come down to that. As off we go in the 300 intermediate hurdles. Again, watch the middle of the track. It's the middle 4 lanes where those fastest times are coming from. And watch them go over the hurdles. That tells you who's in the lead based on the stagger here. And that's a big lead early, it appears, in lane 4 for Riley Lawrence from Warren Easton. And she is way out in front as we come to the third to last hurdle.
And that's kind of what we expected. Maybe not quite that lead over Dufresne, but in third place, there's the young lady from Dominican.
Right. So this is looking like it's going to go to form here, although you got to give Simone Gust from Mount Carmel credit. She's closing here. Can she get there and possibly get up for third? And she's going to. Remember that. That's a big, and realize that's a 4-point swing right there, because that's now, instead of 6 for Dominican and 4 for Mount Carmel, it's the other way around. So remember that. But kudos to Riley Lawrence of Warren Easton for the win there. 47.35. That is her best by almost 3/4 of a second. Still off of the district mark set 20 years ago by Judy Schulteis, 46.51.
Judy Schulteis of Archbishop Blank fame.
Wow.
Yes. I was coaching at Mount Carmel at the time and witnessed that one firsthand.
All right, so Dufresne tonight has won the high hurdles, won the high jump, and now finished second in the intermediate hurdles. So she scored 28 points for her team here this evening.
And check to see where she finished in the javelin, because she was seeded number 1 going in, so she may have won that too.
And she finishes third in that. That was a very tight competition. Reagan Hayes from Mount Carmel won that. Zoe Mitchell, you talk about great athletes.
Oh, yes.
What doesn't she do for Dominican? Finishes second with a PR of 93.11 there. And Adeline Dufresne of Curtis finishes third. So that's 34 points that she has scored for her team. How many does Curtis have tonight? Well, that's not updated yet, but she'll get another 8 there. So that'll be 39 points for Curtis, and she scored 34 of them.
Impressive. Big shout out to Zoe Mitchell, signed on to play volleyball at William Carey next year.
Yes. And I will tell you, look, we've covered, we cover a lot. I love coming to this event because you get 11 schools under one umbrella and a great event. But of all the events that I saw in person this year, I will tell you that the Dominican Mount Carmel volleyball match at Dominican had off-the-charts atmosphere in terms of anything you will ever see in terms of high school sports in the New Orleans area.
I couldn't agree more. That is, they bring the energy every time they play one another.
All right, next up on the track is the boys 300-meter hurdles. We've got 2 flights running here. So we'll start with the slower flight, if you will. It'll be Gary Bass of Holy Cross, Colin Cassian of Brother Martin, Vince Ippolio Jr. of Rummel running here in the first section, and then we'll have a field of 7 in the second section. with the fastest time belonging to Jerron Bickham of Warren Easton at 39:59. Justin Horn of John Curtis, what a terrific hurdler he was. Of course, went on to be to Texas Tech to compete in both sports, football and track.
Incredible hurdler.
Yeah, we had a Bass did not start here, so this is just a two-person race here between Cancian and Ippolito. Ippolito, I'm sorry. Keep wanting to put a T in there. Say Ippolito. So it is Cancian with the lead in this one. And again, can he do enough to possibly grab a point for his team? He is running what appears to be just about his seed time, and it will come in the 46 and change time. He came in with a best of 46.95. He runs 46.46. So we'll see if that is perhaps good enough, although it looks on paper like that will be a tough chore to crack the top 6 and get a point for his team there. So as we go to Section 2, field of 7. From the inside, it's Louis Desabry of Brother Martin, Drago Satanovich of Jesuit, who's we mentioned earlier won the high jump, Jair Burks of Jesuit, who won the sprint hurdles earlier, the high hurdles. Jerron Bickham of Warren Easton comes in with that fastest time. Jaden Hunter of Edna Carr has the second fastest time. Miles Torres of Warren Easton is out in lane 6, and Thomas McGriff of Holy Cross will run in 7. Here we go. You see the 7 of them across the track. Watch the stagger and watch when they go over the hurdles. Couple of them early on. One of them hit a hurdle there, slows you down. You can hit the hurdles.
I don't recommend it, though. Lane.
No, it's not. It's not fun to do that, is it? And in lane 4, that is Bickham from Warren Easton, who has stretched it out here. That's Burks on the inside, trying to gain, though. Can he come back? Remember, he's a sprinter, and here he comes. This is to the wire, and Burks got there. Jair Burks from Jesuit completes the hurdle double. 38:43 is his running time. A season best by a second and a half almost. But still a little bit short of Justin Horn's meet record of 37:24. Caleb Curry of Rummel doubled a year ago in the 2 hurdles. And now Jair Burks of Jesuit has done it.
Just that small clip of the hurdle by Bickham opened the window for Jair to close and finish and win that race. That was incredible.
10 more points for Jesuit. And let's update the team scores now. We talked about that 4-point swing, right?
Yep.
From 3rd and 4th. Mount Carmel has a 1-point lead over Dominican now, 82-81. Warren Easton in 3rd with 57. On the boys' side, I believe this is updated. Yeah, Jesuit 134, Brother Martin 82, John Curtis 79. So the Blue Jays appear to be on their way at this point with a 52-point lead and 4 events remaining. It becomes, especially with their distance ability, and you've still got the 800 and the 3,200 to go, Jesuit has the top seeds in both of those events.
Yep, I think that's a no-doubter for sure.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of can Curtis do enough to catch Brother Martin for that runner-up trophy?
And so, again, 4 races to go here on both sides. First up is going to be the 800-meter run. Well, first up, the hurdle crew will get the rest of the hurdles off the track. And then next up will be the 800 meters. And again, it is a tight race on the girls' side. Mount Carmel and Dominican, and they come in to this race. Well, Mount Carmel comes in with the top 2 seeds in Anna Joubert and Lucy Quintana. For Dominican, Carrie Quigley has the 4th fastest time, and then without a seed time here is Giselle Strassel of Dominican, and you wonder what she's capable of doing. Can she go in there and bust this up? Because obviously these two, the middle distance race here with the 800 and then you're going to get to the 3,200 in a few minutes. That could be the two events to decide this. That's obviously where Mount Carmel and Dominican strengths lie, although you could steal a point somewhere else as well. I mean, obviously, you've got Stella Zippert running in the 200 for Dominican, with certainly a chance to win with the second fastest time there. And then you want it to come down to the 4x400 at the end of the day, don't you?
You say that all the time, Lenny, and I really don't. I'd rather have it in hand.
You want to have it in hand. As a spectator, as someone, as a viewing audience out there, you want it to come down to the 4x400, don't you?
Yes,
absolutely. As a coach, absolutely not. No. You want it over. You want it in the bag.
No, I want to be sitting on the bench, just enjoying the rest of the meet, knowing that we've got the big trophy in hand. No, I'm only kidding. It's always much more exciting for everybody involved, coaches, athletes, fans, if it can come down to that 4x4.
So we are moments away from the 800 meters. The scheduled start time at 7:40. We're about 4 minutes away from that. See some of the Jesuit contingent hanging out. And normally you have the tents out there to get some shade early on here. Of course, the field events, they started at 3:30, 4 o'clock today. So they've been going on. Yeah, the running event started at 5:30. You had some sun to contend with. Now the sun has set off in the western sky, and lights have taken full effect here for the remainder of this District 9 5A track and field championships.
Pretty pleasant evening out tonight. Not too humid. A little light breeze out there. Perfect for a track meet.
Yeah. You'd rather from a competitor standpoint, certainly it takes more out of you when you're running in warmer temperatures, but you're also going to get better performances in warmer temperatures than what you would get if it was a cooler evening.
On the sprint side, for sure. I know the distance folks, they like it a little bit cooler. They don't particularly care for the heat and humidity, but for half the cross-country season, that's what they have to deal with. We're just used to it here in Louisiana.
Now, obviously, you've got options in what you can do, especially if you're in a commanding situation like Jesuit. But the other thing I guess you've got to think about is trying to qualify individuals, because you got to start thinking bigger picture here. You've got a regional meet next week. You've got, obviously, a state championship 2 weeks from now. You want to have as many individuals qualified as you can to have a chance to win those titles. So how do you play this out right now with a lead in hand? I mean, do you try to, pull back on performances a little bit and just make sure you qualify to not use up too much? Do you sub in your relay team? What is it that you do at this point?
If I'm Coach Accardo, I'm telling my guys, hey, we're competing like we're down by 40 points, 50 points, because those seed times do matter moving into the regional meet, because the competition gets even harder. So you want to have those good lanes if you're in a sprint event. The distance guys, we can peel back a little bit. We'll wait for this race to start.
Yep. Well, field of 10 here in the girls' 800-meter run. They run out of lanes, 2 in occupying lane 9. And again, the fastest time coming in on is Joubert of Mount Carmel, 2:18:05. They work from the inside here. This is different than what you see in the other events where you want to be in the middle, but here your fastest are on the inside, and Joubert is out there quickly establishing a huge lead by probably 15 meters, and we haven't even reached the 200-meter mark.
Yeah, it looks like she's getting out hard on this first 400. But going back to what you were saying before, Lenny, I want to make sure, A, we secure the win, and B, we want to set ourselves up for a good performance next week and bringing home a regional title, number one, and number two, giving those guys an opportunity to move on to the state meet. And so we don't want to let up just yet. This is more or less a good hard workout in preparation for that.
All right, as you look at Joubert crossing the line for the first time in 1:06 and change, her season best is 2:18:05. The district record is almost 30 years old in this event, 2:19:38, going back to 1996 by Ann Dwyer. And that is certainly in play right here with Joubert, who has really stretched it out now. She's got a lead of up to 30 meters at this point as she heads down the back stretch. You see the clock in the top right corner of your screen.
Yeah, a 1-2 finish by Malcarmo here really puts Dominican behind the 8 ball in terms of that team title.
One, 2 means they're going to gain at least 8 points on Dominican. They came into the event with a 1-point lead. And that's if Dominican would finish 3-4. So now we watch. Can she break this 29-year-old district record? Anna Joubert of Mount Carmel coming towards the finish. We will wait for the time. I think she got there.
It's going to be close.
2:16.53.
Got it.
That is a season best and a meet record.
Not even close. Crushed it.
Yeah. Knocked 2.8 seconds off the meet record. So is that 3-4, I believe, for Dominican?
Dominican is 3-4, yep.
With McGee from Warren East in 5th. Wait for those times to show up. It was in Quintana in 2nd, 2:22.59. That is also a season best for her.
Seeing some records fall tonight, huh, Lenny?
That's fun. You want to see those kind of performances happen.
No doubt.
So it will be Quigley 3rd, Strassel 4th. So that is 18 points for Mount Carmel, 10 for Dominican. So while they wait on the rest of the results to go in, we can unofficially tell you now that that's a 100-91 lead for Mount Carmel with 3 events remaining. And I think that's a lot of pressure now on Stella Zippert probably to win the 200 and hope things fall right in terms of the Mount Carmel runners, and maybe even, Hazel Rooch jumps up in there and gets a point or two as well. All right, so the boys now on the track. It is a field of 14, and it's one heat. Waiting on the previous event to be finished scoring here. But again, your 2 fastest times here belong to Jesuit. It's Brant Blanchard, 150-195. Michael Trepanier, 159.54. Braden Dunn of Brother Martin also comes in under 2 minutes, 159.82. Now, talk about old records here. Blanchard's best 150-195. The district record goes back to 1978. Brian Stark 154.20. So watch Blanchard in lane 1. Had some scratches here. We went off with 10. See who did not start, but it's Blanchard out to the early lead here. Building up a nice cushion early on as he comes towards the home stretch for the first time. We'll watch his 400-meter split here and see what kind of position he is in. Again, Brant Blanchard's season best 151.95. So that would put him at about a 56-second pace.
Going to go through in about 56. Yeah.
There you go, right? Or maybe 57, but still, that's, again, the meet record is 154.20. So let's see how he finishes here. As he has really stretched it out here. We'll get a look at just how much of a lead he's built up on the backstretch. It's a good 25 yards that he's got this thing built up and just running clear.
Looks like he's really trying to kick it into an extra gear here
Yeah.
with 150 to go and
Yep.
go after that record, Lenny.
He will have to down the stretch here. He'll hit the straightaway at about 142. Does he have enough to get home in under 154? He's looking at the clock.
Not gonna
Certainly
get there.
knows the mark, but I don't think he's going to get there. Exactly. Let's wait for the official time. 154.89 will be just short.
So close. Shaking his head after he walked off the track, so I
Yeah.
know he's probably a little disappointed. Really wanted that record.
You look at those things, especially when something's been out there for, in this case, 47 years.
Yeah. But guess what? That young man is a district champion, so
Yep.
nothing to hang your hat about.
So we are down to 3 events on both sides. The rest of the results not posted yet. We'll wait on those to go official. So Michael Trepanier of Jesuit finishes second in 2 minutes, basically even, 3/1000th of a second beyond 2 minutes.
We'll call it too flat.
Yeah, Braden Dunn of Braden Dunn of Brother Martin, I should say, third. Jack Collins of Brother Martin, fourth. So 2 Jesuit, 2 Brother Martin runners advancing to next week's regional meet. But in the meantime, Jesuit just extends their lead even further. Don't believe they've updated the boys' scores yet, but on the girls' side, it is Mount Carmel 96, Dominican 87. I think I gave you those totals incorrectly earlier.
Well,
They may have only scored 5 runners, so 8-6-4-2-1 instead of
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
So I think that's what happened there. But still, it's a 9-point spread. Warren Easton back in third with 57 points. Next event will be the girls' 200-meter dash. We'll see this run in 2 sections. Meet record set 4 years ago by Raven Nunnery. She was outstanding. 24:17, the best time in the field. There's Dijah Robertson again. We're going to see her. She finished second or third in the 400. I have to go back and check because she ran in that first heat without a seed time.
I believe she was second.
Check there on that final result and see exactly. Yeah, she finished second in 58:09. So she won the 100, finished second in the 400, and now comes in with the best time in the 200. So now the scores are updated on the boys' side. 152 for Jesuit, 92 for Brother Martin, 79 for John Curtis. I guess it's easy to compare based on team score. Jesuit a year ago scored 151 points. They've still got 3 events to go, including an event that they're going to dominate in the 3,200.
Right.
And they're already at 152. That just tells you the kind of performance we're witnessing tonight from the Blue Jays as they are on their way to a 3rd straight district championship. Will Mount Carmel be on their way to a 5th straight district championship? They've still got some work to do here with only a 9-point lead and 3 events to go.
It says a lot about their depth too as a program, Lenny. They obviously they're going to put 2 in every event, have stacked relays, and that's
yeah.
And
They're outstanding in the field events and in the distance. But now they're starting to put up some solid performances in those other, in particularly in the sprints, and that's where they're starting to really create this dominating performance here. That they go in with a 60-point lead. And look, it's going to be interesting to see. I would think with that kind of depth, and we'll see how many get through, they've got to be considered legitimate candidates to win a state championship this year.
I couldn't agree more. We know that those those distance guys are going to hold up at the regional level, at the state level. Let's see how they compete now against the 5As in the River Parish, in North Louisiana, Baton Rouge area, Catholic High, all the players in the game, and let's see. I think they've got just as good a chance as anybody to compete for a state title.
A long way to go to get there. You still got to get through the regional meet,
right.
and obviously you got to get as many through as you can tonight for next week's regional meet, which is at Hahnville. So again, 3 races to go on both sides. We'll have the 200s, 2 sections in both the girls and boys, followed by the 3,200 girls, boys, and then the closing 4x400 meter relay. The question there will be, is the girls' title still at stake when we get to that point? We will have to stay tuned for that. Meantime, we'll tell you today's coverage on Crescent City Sports is brought to you by the Lamarck Motor Company in Kenner. Lamarck Quick Lane services all makes and models, batteries, tires, oil changes, and more. All done quickly while you enjoy some popcorn. Must be a reason. Speaking of, I may need to go visit Quick Lane myself here before long, so encourage you to do the same. I hope you're watching us and maybe following along what's going on in the NFL draft. The Saints will be coming up on the clock shortly.
We haven't drafted Shedeur Sanders yet.
I would be surprised there. So
that's my prediction, Lenny. That's what I'm going with. My non-professional opinion.
Saints, of course, scheduled to pick 9th, and you always say schedule when you're talking about the Saints because they tend to want to trade. We're 6 picks in. The Jets are currently on the clock. Actually, Will Campbell going 4th overall to the Patriots. Of course, Louisiana product out of Neville High School. Mm-hmm. If you haven't been following, it's Cam Ward to the Titans, Travis Hunter to the Jaguars, Abdul Carter to the Giants, Will Campbell to the Patriots, Mason Graham to the Browns, and Ashton Genty to the Raiders. The Jets have made their pick. It hasn't been announced yet. The Panthers are on the clock, then the Saints at 9.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Meanwhile, we will get set here momentarily for the 200-meter dash. Girls up first. Again, we will have 2 sections. Everybody comes in with a seed time here, so I can't say that there's maybe a surprise here, but we'll have 4 running in the first section, 2 from Carr, 2 from Chappelle. And then our second heat, we will have 8 running with 2 each from Dominican, Curtis, Mount Carmel, and Easton. So off we go in the first section of the girls' 200 meters. Appears to be Shalice Johnson of Carr out in lane 5 out quickly. Followed by her teammate Dakota Banks, who is now closed and taking the lead. So it's Banks and Johnson with Breland Roos of Chappelle coming up on the outside. But it will be Banks across the line first, and a time of 29:09. Just under her seed time coming in. Johnson second, Roos third. Roos with a season best, 30:21. All right, so now we get to the second heat, and I got to believe this is huge for Dominican right here. If you're going to put yourself in any kind of position to come back and win this district championship, you've got to gain some significant ground on Mount Carmel right here.
It's got to happen right here, or it probably won't happen.
Robertson of Warren Easton, number 1 seed in lane 4. Zippert is got the second fastest time. She's in 5. Salas from Mount Carmel in 3rd coming in. She's in lane 3. That's McGinnis from John Curtis in lane 6. They have the 4 fastest times. Then you go to Moeller from John Curtis, Jackson from Mount Carmel, Roots from Dominican, basically come in almost the same time. 200th of a second apart. Here we go. Off in the second section of this girls' 200 meters. And you see them out quickly in the middle of the track. In lane 4, that's Robertson trying to finish off an unbelievable night. Zippert is in position to go second. She'll get there. That will be Salas going 3rd on the outside. And Jackson and Roots were pretty close there. Let's see how this all plays out. Robertson goes 24:69. That is a season best for her. Zippert in 2nd, 25:51. Salas in 3rd, 25:66.
That's one heck of a night out of Deja Robertson.
Wow. 28 points. Whew. And that's just in the individual events. No telling what she's done in terms of running any relays as well. Roots was 4th, according to this right now. Let's see if that's indeed the case. But that could be big if Roots. Yeah, if Roots was 4th. No, Roots is 5th. I'm sorry, behind McGinnis. And let's check that. Let's see here. Oh no, Jackson is 4th. They did not. You got to wait till everything's in, right? They're still moving things around. Jackson is 5th. Roots is 6th. So Dominican gained 1 point there. They picked up 9 points to, 8 for Mount Carmel. So they only gained 1 point. So it's an 8-point spread with 2 events to go. Still not out of the question, but it would take some big performances in the 3,200 from Dominican.
Well, and you've got Junia sitting there. You've got Riechert sitting there. So that's a tall order. Yeah,
but you've got Schneider as well, who's got the fastest time, but of course Riechert doesn't have a time, right? So it's what do we know there?
But we know what she's capable of.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Will she set the meet record? We're off in the first heat of the boys 200. And in lane 6 here, that's Jabari Monday from Holy Cross. But he's getting some pressure on the outside. Jaden Thomas from John Curtis will get up and win this opening heat. One of those guys that came in without a seed time. You never know what you're going to get, right?
Right.
And let's see what Thomas turns in terms of a time. 22:82.
That's got a chance to hold up.
Yeah, that could end up, getting on the board there. So second heat, this is the fast heat. Again, Josh Brown of Holy Cross comes in with the fastest time, 21:34. Nazir Caesar of Rummel, 21:42 in second. And Easton Royal of Brother Martin, who set the meet record a little while ago in the 100-meter dash at 10:29. He has run 22 flat this year. Can he pull off a sprint double?
He's going to have to run faster than 22 seconds
in
order to do it.
No doubt about it. He's a guy who's going to get a lot of looks from some major football schools. And his performances here aren't going to hurt anything. That's something that opens a lot of eyes. Those track numbers open a lot of eyes to football coaches.
Absolutely.
Saw Mark Bonis earlier this evening. He's here watching and working. There's Brother Martin with 2 events going on this evening. We see the lights in the distance for us of Kirsch-Rooney Stadium, where they are playing their first game of their baseball playoff series tonight against Pineville. So it will be Terrence from Rummel, Clay from Easton, Royal from Brother Martin, Brown Holy Cross, Caesar from Rummel, Charles and Carter from St. Augustine, and Vaughn from Easton as they come around the turn and into the straightaway. And Josh Brown with the lead. He's got Royal and Caesar on either side, but it's going to be Josh Brown in a terrific time. That may be a meet record here. 21:09 was the record. 20:86 for Josh Brown. The first ever in the Catholic League to go under 21 seconds in the 200 meters.
What a night these young men are having.
Easton Royal second at 21:31. Caesar 21:33. And they'll fill in the rest of them from there. But tip of the hat to Josh Brown. What a performance right there. 20:86 to knock more than 0.2 of a second off the meet record of 21:09 set 2 years ago by Rajay Dennis of Endicott. First year we had a chance to bring this meet to you. All right, so we are down to 2 events to go. Next up on the track is going to be the girls' 3,200 meter run. Let's try to update the scores very quickly for you here. Mount Carmel 101, Dominican 93 on the girls' side. So it's an 8-point spread with 2 events to go. Warren Easton 66, John Curtis 39, Chappelle 30, Carr 22. So you have to help me out here on how they will score the girls 4x4 with 5 teams in. Will that end up being they'll score 4 or with
should be 8? I'm trying to think here. 8, 6, 4, 2.
All right. So if that's the case, okay, that means now granted Mount Carmel could finish out, but that means if they go in with more than an 8-point lead, then they're a lock. So basically, they need to outfinish Dominican in this race, and they can clinch a district championship right here in the 3,200. There's 2 from Dominican, 2 from Mount Carmel, 2 from Chappelle. And again, you got Reichert in this race who set the meet record 2 years ago, missed last spring because of an injury, is back in, does not have a time in the 3,200 this year. Grace Schneider of Dominican ran 11:18 this year, which is faster than Reichert's district record. You got Junius from Mount Carmel. You got Thomas from Dominican. You know, how is it, does Dominican find a way to get a little bit of ground back to give themselves a chance to get this to the relay?
Anything can happen. That's why you have to run the race, of course, right? The things aren't won on paper. But it's going to be, again, like I said, it's going to be a tall order for those Dominican runners to make up the ground they need to make up.
When we get to the boys, of course, that is basically in hand right now. Brother Martin did pick up 8 points from that second-place finish from Royal, so it's now 152 to 100 on the boys' side with still 2 events to go. But it's mathematically over. Of course, Jesuit has clinched their 3rd straight District 9 5A track and field championship. Mount Carmel, if they can outscore Dominican here in the 3,200, would clinch their 5th consecutive district championship. So again, just in the running events tonight, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure I didn't miss one in here somewhere. That's 6 district records so far that we've seen tonight, just in the running events. I'll have to kind of search through those. We can update you on some of those, in fact, as the 3,200 plays out here, or we wait for it. The girls shot put. Congratulations to Allie Mixon of Chappelle, the junior, who won that event with a throw of 31.8. Therese Heimel of Dominican second with a PR of 30 feet 10 inches. In the boys shot put, Big performance by Spencer Wagaspack of Jesuit, 48 feet 11 3/4 inches, more than 3 feet ahead of second place Zaire Shepard of John Curtis. Curtis went 2-3, in fact, in that event. Caleb Smith of Brother Martin finishing fourth. In the girls' discus, Autumn Johnson of Dominican goes 120 feet 6 inches to edge out Kaylee Dublin of Chappelle, who went 119.10. Juliet Wax of Mount Carmel finished third. She had a PR of 107.4. In the boys' discus, PR performance from freshman Zaire Shepard. We talked about him just a minute ago from John Curtis. He's just a freshman. 144.8 to finish 13 feet ahead of everyone else. So watch that for the next 3 years.
That's a big throw right there.
Have to look at that record there. 144.8 in the discus. It's a long 178.2 is a long way to go there. And I know they've changed some rules on some implements and things like that, and apples may not be apples in all of these events, but
well, not in the discus, just the javelin. Just the javelin, yeah. But that 178. That's probably going to stand for a little while.
Right. Reagan Hayes of Mount Carmel wins the javelin on the girls' side. Zoe Mitchell of Dominican was second there, and you mentioned Adeline Dufresne with her performance tonight finishing third there. All right, the Saints have a pick in. I believe it's Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive lineman. From the University of Texas. Can play tackle or play guard.
Not the most exciting pick.
Yeah, does he? Yeah, and then what do you do with him? Is he, like I said, because he plays tackle and guard? Does he stay at tackle? You've got a couple of tackles there. Does he move inside and play guard?
Though not the most exciting pick, certainly a necessity.
Well, of course, stay with CrescentCitySports.com. We'll have full coverage of all of that for you. Our team will break it all down. All 3 days of the draft. Of course, Ken Trahan and his team at 106.7 The Ticket, a 5-hour pre-show this afternoon over at our friends at Game On Sports Hub out in Kenner, breaking it all down with some of the experts. So we get set for the start here of the 3,200. So Dominican in 1 and 3, Mount Carmel in 2 and 6. Let's see how the early pace plays out here. Riker didn't waste any time. She went right to the front.
That is
as you would expect.
As you would expect.
So it's two Mount Carmel runners, right? Actually, it's Schneider is Schneider right there from Dominican. But you've got that lead pack of 4, which is Mount Carmel and Dominican. And we'll just see how this plays out in 8 laps around the track as we continue to update you on some of the other events here. The girls' long jump goes to Audrey Johnson of Mount Carmel. 15.8 edges out Taylor Curtis of Warren Easton, who was at 15.1. In the boys' long jump, Miles Torres of Warren Easton goes 21.6.5. Braden Gauthier of Holy Cross, 20 feet 10 inches to finish second. And Caleb Freelo of Jesuit, you talk about you need those kind of performances, right?
Yep.
A PR of 20 feet 9 inches to finish third and pick up 6 big points for the Blue Jays. The girls' triple jump, Marley Hayes of Carr goes 33.5 to edge out Audrey Johnson of Mount Carmel, 33.1. if I'm not mistaken, did jump ahead of the high jump here because I think we looked at that. And Dufresne won the high jump at 5'4". So what a night she has had. And so in the boys' triple jump, it was Carl Reed from Warren Easton, 41 feet even to defeat Caleb Freelo of Jesuit. Tyrus Franklin of Rummel was third with a PR of 38.7. We glance at the girls' triple jump. Marley Hayes of Endicott over Audrey Johnson of Mount Carmel. I'm sorry. We scroll through all these. Drago Satanovic, we mentioned, won the high jump with a PR of 6 feet 4 inches. Man, that's another record that's still a long time. Donald Royal, who was, of course, ended up being a terrific college basketball and NBA player from St. Augustine, still has the record in the high jump more than 40 years later. So we have 2 laps in the book here at right about 2:51 at this point. We've got 6 more laps to go. And Reichert's district record time 2 years ago was 11 minutes, 20.37 seconds. In the pole vault, which is, again, a fairly new event, especially on the girls' side, Lily Johnson of Warren Easton wins with 7.6. In the boys' pole vault, Dante Ascani of Brother Martin, a senior, wins with 12 feet. He was 2 feet ahead of everybody else. But, you know, there's another one of those PRs. Pax Cannon of Jesuit, a freshman, finishes second with 10 feet to pick up 8 points for his team. The depth that you talk about and getting some of those performances, you know, getting some of those best performances. So that's, I think, hopefully I didn't miss anything there. Run through all the field events. And, again, 2 running events still to go. We're watching the 3,200 meters on the girls' side to be followed by the boys' 3,200. And then, of course, we end with the 4x400 meter relay. Well, it's a pack of 3 in front at this point.
Pretty conservative pace right now for these 3. Just trying to feel each other out, trying to figure out who's going to make the move and when.
417, I should say, for 1,200 meters. Besides what? It's about an 85 to 86 second lap. Mm-hmm. Those 3 have separated themselves certainly from the rest of the field. But even if that holds up that way, that's probably that would be enough for Mount Carmel, would it not? Because there's no way. If they hold on to an 8-point lead, then they can't lose.
That's right.
And the worst they would do in that situation, even if Schneider wins the race, because that's the 2 Mount Carmel runners and Schneider there in the lead pack. Even if Schneider wins the race, that's still 10 points for each team.
Right. Basically going to cancel each other out.
Right.
So if I had to guess here, we're going to see somebody in the second half of this race here start to pull away or make a move and challenge the other runner and see if they'll go with them.
Still running 3 as a pack at this point is see us approach 6 minutes. What was it, about 5? It was about 5:47, I believe,
yes,
for 1,600 meters,
mm-hmm,
which is slightly below the record pace or Schneider's best time. They are going to pass one of the Chappelle runners here. and perhaps another one momentarily. As we will come up on 3 laps to go. And now we see a little bit of a kick here.
Interesting to make that kind of move this early in the race.
Yeah, just not letting things get away there.
Just trying to stay in contact. This is where, as distance coaches, we ask our runners, laps 5, 6, 6 or 7, but typically around 5 or 6, just like the third lap in the 1600, you really got to focus. You really got to bear down on what it is you're doing, not get lulled to sleep, so you fall off pace. So that's probably what Coach is telling them to do right now. Coach Garvey for Dominican, Coach Rob Farrell for Mount Carmel, giving those instructions at the corners.
We're coming up on 1,000 meters to go here in this 3,200-meter run. And it's Mount Carmel running 1-2. Looking to clinch a 5th consecutive district championship. They'll come down the straightaway, and when they cross the line, there will be 2 laps remaining. .800 to go. Was it about 8:35 as they cross the line there, I believe? Or 8:33, I should say. Record's still not out of play here, depending on the finishing kick. They'll start to open it up now once again. But if you look at the results from a year ago on the team side, it was Mount Carmel 125, Dominican 107. It ended up an 18-point spread. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's about what this, right in the ballpark of what this ends up being once again. But it just feels like a little bit more competitive this time around. Dominican actually, got to the lead there, with 5 events to go. And it would have at least has the feeling of something that is, this wasn't a runaway performance by any means for Mount Carmel to be able to win this district championship.
Most definitely. They put together a really nice meet, but Mount Carmel just as Jesuit has done, they're going to get you with their depth.
So on to the final lap here. And as we saw a couple of years ago, just sands the records this time, perhaps. Let's see what happens down the stretch here. You look at the clock at 10:34. This is certainly not out of the question coming home here.
She's going to make it interesting now, isn't she?
That's Reichert, who certainly separated herself here.
Yeah,
she may have this in hand here.
I did not
she's really
see that coming.
No, she's look at her kicking it home now.
And there goes another one.
Yep, 11:22 years ago. This time around, 11:08 and change, 11:08.61 for Catalina Reichert to win the 3,200 and knock almost 12 seconds off her own district record. Her teammate Stella Junius broke her record as well by 14/100ths of a second. She finishes in 11:20.23.
She would have broken the record herself. At 11:20, right? Am I looking at that correctly?
Yep. And Grace Schneider, nothing to be ashamed of there, finishes third at 11:22.85.
Not at all.
But what it all means is that 1-2 performance means Mount Carmel has clinched the district championship with one event to go. So at least from the number one spot on the podium, there's no drama as we head to the relay. Of course, some other spots could be in play. And, of course, every one of those teams wants to win that relay to close it out.
Right.
That's
right. It's the cherry on top of the sundae. It's the exclamation point, right? But I can tell you this: Coach Farrell he can breathe easy now. Mm-hmm. He can breathe easy and not have to stress about that last race.
Right. Now we will wait for the two Chappelle runners to finish here. But again, the lead will now be 16 points for Mount Carmel going into the final event. And that is too much to overcome. So, we mentioned Reichert hadn't run the 3,200 all year. She goes out and sets the meet record here in 11:08. We're going to get to the boys here in just a minute, but what's interesting is Brady Mullen, who broke a 42-year-old district record in this race a year ago, hadn't run them all year, so he has no time. So he's starting on the outside in this waterfall start, but he's going to get out to the front very quickly here. And, anything's in play here as well.
That's right.
Although his teammate Brady Monahan has a seed time of 9:11.79, which is 4 seconds faster than what Mullen ran in this race a year ago.
It's just amazing what these Jesuit runners continue to do year in and year out. The training, the results they get from the training, they're just, as I said before, they are the gold standard right now in distance running in the state of Louisiana.
And keep this in mind, too. We talked about that record held by the late Keith Ivey, 9:28.10. Well, Mullen ran 9:15.48 last year to break it by 13 seconds. Monahan ran 9:25.98. So even if Brady Mullen didn't exist, then Brady Monahan would have still broken that record.
Crazy when you say it out loud, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. But that's, these distance runners have really become very good at their craft, especially in the New Orleans area.
Well, and what it's done is it's forced really the entire state to kind of step up their game and kind of rethink the way that we train down here in the South. And you're seeing a lot of kids with some really big times and performances.
Good finish coming up here for fifth place. Good kick to the line there for Corel Caroline from Chappelle, who finished in 14:53. And Macy Lane will be the last to finish. So we'll have one event remaining on the girls' side, still two on the boys' side. We will see the boys' 3,200-meter coming up next. As we've talked about, this should be a very entertaining race with again, you talk about Mullen and what he's capable of doing, and Monahan, and then you've got Noah Mooney and Anders Mitrojan of Brother Martin, who are 9:23 and 9:29. They're not exactly out of it themselves either. And you look back at a year ago. I mean, these there was a couple of seniors running for Brother Martin a year ago who have since obviously graduated, and Daniel Falk and Ian Calico, who ran third and fourth in 9:37 and 9:35 or 9:45. So they come in with better times. And let's see how it all plays out here. As now the boys on the starting line, it is scheduled to be a field of 11. And I was told there would be no math, but it does appear there's 11 out there. We get set to go. Off in the boys' 3,200 meters. And indeed, you see Mullen from that outside spot because of no seed time go right out there with his teammate Brady Monahan, and they're quickly 1-2, followed by Mooney and Major John. They will pass the 200-meter mark with 3,000 to go. And to no surprise, it will be the top four, 2 from Jesuit, 2 from Brother Martin, as we cross the line for the first time. Again, remember that even though we've got a district championship in hand, each of these events you're running for regional qualifying spots. The top 4 in each event advance to next week's regional meet.
Well, even beyond that, too, these guys know each other so well. They see each other week in and week out. They train near each other. And really, a lot of it becomes about bragging rights. We know the rivalry between the schools.
Sure. And look, they're friends. I can tell. All of these guys, they go out here and they put on different color uniforms, and they're at different schools. But they're all friends.
Absolutely.
Okay? And that's a good thing. I mean, I've seen it in a lot of levels, in a lot of different sports, on the high school end. These guys, they grow up competing on the playground, or this club or that club. They've known each other for a long time, and they get to be friends. My son was a high school bowler for the last 5 years, and I got to see just how he interacted with the guys that he spent Saturdays with bowling, but then maybe on Mondays and Thursdays, during the winter they put on different uniforms for different schools, but they might have been teammates at some point, or they go to a tournament and they compete, and it's they all are out there pulling for each other. They all want to see their area succeed. We just had 2 weeks ago, we just had the state high school bowling championships here on Crescent City Sports, and it was a New Orleans area sweep, and those other New Orleans area kids were just as excited as the ones who won.
Absolutely.
The Chappelle girls were every bit as excited that Brother Martin won, and the Brother Martin boys were every bit as excited when Chappelle won. And then when Jonathan Cho of Jesuit won the singles title and shot 300 in the singles qualifying, there were kids from 5 other schools out there to celebrate with him when he shot 300. It wasn't just his teammates. So you see that, and I can assure you it's like that at this level, especially with this kind of subset of a team here. You get these they're competing in cross country, then they're coming around and competing, in the outdoor track season, and even indoor track for that matter. And so they're facing each other year round. But and maybe it's in a high school uniform, maybe it's in something different or whatever. But they're out here, they're out here, and when they're done, they're all going to shake hands and be friends about it.
That's right. Those relationships and those friendships are built out of a mutual respect they have for one another, and the work that they put in, because they know how much of a grind it is to get out there at 6 o'clock in the morning during the summertime and put in 40, 50, maybe sometimes even 60 miles a week. And it's just, you like you said, Lenny, they're going to shake hands and they're going to pat each other on the back and be friends at the end of the day, and that's really what it's all about.
So we're coming up on the halfway mark here of this race, as the lead pack is passing 1,400 meters in about 4:18. Let's see where they are when they cross the start-finish line here at the halfway part of this race. I think they're going to be a little bit behind those record paces here.
Right.
And I think they also realize the situation, too, that, the meet is in hand, and you've got to turn around and do this again the next week and the following week. And
because seed times don't really matter in the distance events, right? There's no lane assignment.
Right.
So they go in, they're going to do what they got to do. They get the win.
4:53 for 1,600 meters. So, you're talking, even if you just doubled that, that's a 9:46 pace. That's well off the records and well off what these guys are capable of doing. But obviously you look you look at the seed times, and these 4 guys were 40 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack.
And you may see some movement here in the second half of the race, much like the girls did. There'll be some separation. But it depends. Maybe not. Maybe Coach Ricardo said, "Hey, look, just hold the pace, run conservatively, save it for next week." Particularly in a situation with Mullen, who hasn't run a 32 so far this year.
Mm-hmm. So you're seeing the clock there again at the top of your screen, coming up on 5 minutes and 40 seconds as we approach 2,000 meters. And maybe it's me, but I do look like the pace might be picking up a little bit.
A little bit.
And look, don't forget this. They still want to be a district champion, too.
Absolutely.
So whatever it takes to get across the line first, right?
They may be friends, but they want to brag to him in 5 years. Hey, remember when I beat you behind at the district track meet in 2025?
Right, exactly. That doesn't, that district championship doesn't go away.
No.
That pack of 4 will pass the runner. The Brother Martin runners down on the rail, encouraging their teammates to stay with it. 1,000 meters to go at about 6:45 on the clock. Let's see what kind of finishing kick we have here for the final 2+ laps of this race. It remains Jesuit 1-2, Brother Martin 3-4. $7:20 for the 2,400 meters.
Now we're going to see a little kick.
So if you project that, that's about a 73-second lap there for. Mm-hmm. Now you're seeing some separation here.
Wait, I thought you told me there was supposed to be no math here.
No, there always is math somewhere along the way.
And really what this becomes for these guys is a training run for next week in preparation for, what may or may not be stiffer competition, but they're getting themselves ready, if not for next week, when they get to Baton Rouge on May the 9th. Or is it the 10th? The 9th.
The 10th is Saturday. Yes, the 10th
is Saturday. That's right.
It's second Saturday of May. Bell lap. 8:25. So that record's certainly out of play at this point, but still, it's look at a kick now that you're seeing. You're doing what you would do, but maybe not as fast a pace that you would do it at otherwise. Now, I think it becomes a race for second and third at this point. You see what's going on there behind this, behind the leader. And while it's going to mean 2 points in the standings here, and again, they're all going to advance to regionals.
These guys are competitors, though.
Yep.
They certainly don't want to lose to their rival.
And a kick to the finish. And it will be 1-2 for Jesuit. As Brady Monahan wins it in 9:28.96. While his teammate, or check that, Brady Mullen will win it in 9:26.65. That time didn't go up right away. 9:26.65 for Mullen. Noah Mooney comes in third at 9:30.51. And did Martin get in for fourth ahead of Maitre John? I don't know. Got to see. That may not be right. You got to let all these times populate in there. But again, we can assure you, it's a 1-2 Jesuit finish as they clinch. Now, Maitre John, 9:36.42 is fourth. And I believe this will be Martin coming in fifth now across the line. But no surprise there that we see two Jesuit and two Brother Martin runners, each in the top four, and each advancing both of their competitors to regionals. So down to one event. It's the 4x400 meter relay still to come. We don't have the drama, if you will, of a district championship on the line from a team perspective. So pick 14 is now in. If you're staying with us and not following along with the NFL draft, still more than half of the first round to go tonight. You got plenty of time to get to that. So let's take a look at where we are in the team scores going into the final event to see what's still at stake, at least tell you for sure on the girls' side here, if there's anything really at stake. Not really. I think everything's pretty much settled. Mount Carmel 115, Dominican 99, Warren Easton will finish third, 66. John Curtis 39, Archbishop Chappelle 31, and Edna Carr 22. On the boys' side, going into that last event, it was Jesuit 152, or the 3,200. Jesuit 152, they'll pick up another 18 there. Brother Martin 100, they'll pick up another 10. John Curtis 79, Warren Easton 73.5, Holy Cross 47.5, Archbishop Rummel 42, St. Augustine 15, Edna Carr 13. So some placings down the line could still get decided here because all 8 teams on the boys' side will run in the 4x4. John Curtis does not have a team in the 4x4 girls, so I guess it is possible that if Chappelle ran an incredibly big race that they could catch him, but it doesn't seem the numbers would back that up. That's about the only thing that is possibly in play in terms of the positioning on the girls' side. At the boys' side, 3 and 4 could still be in play, 5 and 6 could still be in play, 7 and 8. That order of finish all could remain in play here as they will finish out the scoring. Last couple of runners, or I should say the last runner to cross there, was Skylar McGee of Warren Easton, who finished in 10th place.
Lenny, looking at that girls 4x4, looks like we have another district record in jeopardy. With Warren Easton's seed time of 4:07.61.
Yep. And look who's running anchor for him. Dijah Robertson, who has already put up 28 points individually tonight, winning the 100, winning the 200, finishing second in the 400.
That's who I'd like to have on my anchor leg. I can tell you that right now.
No doubt about it. Outside of that, then you start looking at if Curtis is not in, and Johanna McGinnis won the flat 400. Then of course you got Olivia Bordes of Dominican. If she ends up running anchor exactly where she's running here, I don't know how they will line this up, but she finished third in the 400. So it's it's always fascinating to see not just the strategy here, but just some of the things that you see in this race, because you can see some great closers. You can see some, just dramatic finishes down the stretch. There's a reason this race is the last race of the meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. we're still waiting on a runner to finish here. They still got the clock running, and we're going to start this here momentarily. We're a little bit behind schedule now, actually. It's 8:40. We were scheduled to start this at 8:35, so it's not a question of waiting for that. Here we go. Looks like now we've got everyone in place. Field of 5. It will be Archbishop Chappelle in 3, Dominican in 4, Warren Easton in 5 against Easton's first year in the Catholic League. Mount Carmel in 6, who could be right there as well, and Edna Carr out in lane 7. Got to not just run, but you got to get the baton around as well. The exchanges can be everything.
Not nearly as tricky in this one as the other two, though.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Not like the sprints, no doubt.
No.
Here we go in the girls 4x4. Again, Chappelle in lane 3, Dominican in 4, Easton in 5, Mount Carmel in 6, Edna Carr in 7. They will stay in their lanes for the first lap, and then we will see them push into the rail after the first exchange when they hit the backstretch. Easton may have scratched here. I think we've only got 4 teams running, so.
Well, looks like you're right.
Let's see who makes the handoff first here. It looks close between Carr and Mount Carmel, and it's going to be Carr with the first handoff, followed by Mount Carmel and then Dominican and Chappelle. And you see early on here what looks to be a 2-horse race between Carr and Mount Carmel as they will get to that line and make their way into the rail. And it's Mount Carmel with the lead. Carr in second, Dominican in third down the backstretch as they will hit the 600-meter mark. The Cubs trying to open it up and put a cherry on top of this district championship.
That's an outstanding leg, but it looks like Anna Jobert, the 800-meter runner, really creating a lot of separation after that first exchange.
Yeah, impressive performance in the 800 for her. And a lead of at least 30 meters for Mount Carmel at the second exchange.
Were they at 2:01 at the exchange there, Lyndon?
I missed that time. Yeah, that looks about right because it's maybe 2:04. I don't know. It's like they're at, as we hit 2:20 now, and they're going midway down the backstretch. They have definitely got a chance to take this low right here. Their best time of the year, 4:08.17. 2 years ago, they capped the district championship performance. You saw it right here in Crescent City Sports with a district record of 4:07.99. Can they go that low? We'll watch for the split coming up at 1,200 meters. We'll get the bell lap.
They've got a chance.
They make the handoff at 3:04, so it would take a 63-second lap coming home. We know based on those flat 400 times, that is very doable here.
Yes, sir.
Dominican is trying to close, but I think there may be too much to close. The real question is, can the Cubs top off a district championship performance with a meet record in the 4x4? You watch the clock. Again, the time to beat is 4:07.99. It's going to be close, but she's got it. Final time of 4:06.45. And yet another meet record falls. It'll be Dominican followed by Carr and Chappelle here in the 4x4. Dominican 4:11.68. That was their season best. Carr 4:22.75. That was their season best. So we'll wait for the final scores to show up there. Meantime, we'll get you ready for the boys 4x4. The best time is Warren Easton in lane 5, the time of 3:30.28. And then you got a couple of 3:31s and a 3:32, and there's a pretty tightly contested field. John Curtis at 3:31 flat, Edna Carr at 3:31.83, and Brother Martin at 3:32.28.
Should be exciting to see who moves on to the regional meet. Top 4 qualifying.
Those are the 4 best times. Your lane assignments, Jesuit is in lane 2, St. Augustine in 3, Carr in 4, Easton in 5, John Curtis in 6, Brother Martin in 7, Archbishop Rummel in 8, Holy Cross in lane 9. District record, wow, goes back 47 years. 3:19.9 by Archbishop Shaw.
I don't think that one's in jeopardy today.
That's 11 seconds off. We're talking about bowling. I see that Vidros name on there for Shaw. There's a lot of Vidroses at Shaw. You know, it's Denise Vidros and her husband Gerald run the bowling program. Their sons came through there, Scott and Mark. I don't know which one that might be, or someone else in the family. I don't know. But there was a Vidros that ran the second leg of that 4x4, that record that stood for 47 years. At least based on paper, it should stand up after this. But
yes,
as we've learned tonight, you never know. We have seen some extraordinary performances here this evening.
We certainly have.
You know, by the way, we talked track and field. It was good to see as a contributor. It was good to see Mike Boyer going to the Louisiana High School Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Earlier this month.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he would say about right now? Is we're about to fire the gun for the boys 4x4.
I'm not sure I know how to say it correctly, but I know
I spent enough time in Lafayette to know that when the gun is fired, ils sont partis. Which is, by the way, what they say at Evangeline Downs. When that's French for "and they're off." So
there you go.
Yeah. So a hat tip to you, Mike.
Well deserved.
By the way, was in the broadcast booth down below for the 1992 Olympic trials and the 1993 NCAA championships, right here in this very stadium. All right, we'll see how they come down the stretch for the first time. Looks like Warren Easton on top in the middle of the track there, with John Curtis in second. And it's Brother Martin and Carr battling it out for third. And it's Easton making the first handoff with Curtis second, and Easton is opening it up down the turn. They are building a big lead right now. As now they'll all cut in to the inside, and that's probably a 30-meter lead for Warren Easton at the 600-meter mark.
6 schools fighting for 3 more spots here, Lenny.
You got a good battle for second going on right now. But out in front, it is the Eagles of Warren Easton in their first year in District 9 5A with a big lead here in the 4x4. I believe that's Curtis in second right now. Again, the fastest time this year in the district was Easton's 3:30.28. I think they're ahead of that pace a little bit right now.
A little bit.
So we'll get the final handoff. It is Easton on top. It is Curtis in second. Jesuit will make the exchange in third, with St. Augustine in fourth and Brother Martin fifth. Again, you look at those 5 spots, the 3, 4, 5 spots, the top 4 advance.
Don't look now, but here comes LaCour. Going to continue his track and field career at Washington and Lee next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great race down to the finish here. Look at this battle for the win between Easton and Curtis. Curtis goes to the front, and it's going to be
move.
John Curtis to win the 4x4 with Warren Easton second, Jesuit third, and I believe that was Edna Carr in fourth.
Edna Carr in fourth, yes, sir.
So a big performance there. Yeah, Jesuit came in with the second slowest seed time and finished third. So they're going to move on as a capper to this evening. Curtis, 3:25.69. How about that for a time? 5 seconds faster than what they ran all year long. Easton, 3:26.91. Jesuit, 3:27.14. Remember, no one in this district ran under 3:30 the entire year. Carr ran 3:30.31, which was 0.03 of a second off the fastest time coming in, and that was good for fourth.
Great job. Great job by everybody tonight.
A terrific performance all the way around, but especially by our champions. Mount Carmel with 123 points to 105 for Dominican. Warren Easton third with 66, followed by John Curtis 39, Archbishop Chappelle 33, and Edna Carr 26th. On the boys' side, Jesuit 170. Brother Martin, 110. John Curtis, 80. Warren Easton, 73.5. Holy Cross, 49.5. Archbishop Rummel, 42. St. Augustine, 15. Edna Carr, 13. Believe that last event has been scored. Let's just make sure that is included in there. It's not in yet, so we'll update those boys' scores for you in a minute. That was the scores going into the last event. While we wait for those, just your final thoughts on what we witnessed this evening in Jesuit and Mount Carmel, again, taking home district titles here tonight.
Again, I'm incredibly impressed by the preparation of all of these athletes. Great job by the coaches at getting them ready. It's one thing to be ready. It's another thing to perform when the lights come on. And I have to tell you, these kids have done a great job tonight. I'm incredibly impressed with the depth of Jesuit and Mount Carmel. I wish them well next week at the regional meet. I know the coaching staff is going to have them prepared. And look, just a great night of track and field, as evident by all the district records that fell tonight. Great job by these young men and women.
All right, our thanks to Matt Merritt, our producer this evening, and helping bring you all the action of what is always a fast and furious night of track and field. Our thanks to you as well, Mark.
Thank you.
And for our entire Crescent City sports team, Lenny Van Gilder saying so long from Tad Gormley Stadium, where Jesuit and Mount Carmel are your District 9 5A track and field champions once again. Again, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock first pitch, 5:50 airtime. We will have game 2 of that regional round, or second round series, I should say, between Archbishop Rummel and John Curtis from Harahan Playground. Until then, so long, everybody.